me, Member of Parliament.
I want to take this all the way to the Prime Minister. Hey, Mr. Prime Minister! That's it. I'm going to report this to me, Member of Parliament.
Hello everyone and welcome to round 3 of the BSR MX5 Pro Series, here hosted for the first time in a long while on Jacko Racing actually. It still means we've got a fantastic commentator lineup of Ed, May and unfortunately for you lot, me. But it does mean that unfortunately we aren't live on Year 1 TV tonight. There's a good explanation for that and that's caused by the weather. But Ed, you are alongside me, confirm if you are there or not.
Yep, I certainly am. Yeah, poor Graham, he's been snowed in all the way up north, I believe, so he's given over the duties to yourself, so you're in for a fun night, and I think all of us are, because we're here at the Oulton Park circuit. Plenty of elevation changes and full commitment corners that these drivers will have to negotiate here. And I think, as well, even though I don't know if we can get the graphics up, that's usually done by the ever-wonderful Glamorous Assistant, I could run you through, I think, the top 5 in some of the last races out, which was, correct me if I'm wrong, at Silverstone, Jack.
It was indeed, yeah, it was a brilliant night's racing, and it would be very much appreciated if you could do that, Ed, because, as you say, I don't actually have the graphics up with me right now, but your lovely voice will serenade us with the results of last week, I'm sure.
Well, certainly, and it was in the first race, we saw Ben Sharp on pole ahead of Pete Newman, but it was unfortunately there's a little bit of contact in the opening few laps between those two drivers that saw, in the end, Dan Hunt coming through to take the race victory, Pete Van Gool coming home in second place, and Ed Praga finishing third, with Jamie Ayres and Jez Banks just behind them fourth and fifth. Usually I'd only do the top 5 because we don't have the graphics, but I would want to mention that this was the first race that Ben Sharp finished outside the top 5, and he finished in 6th place in that race. And then we can move on into the second race, and it was Ben Sharp finally taking the race victory. It snatched away from him in the first, but he managed to get it at the second time of asking ahead of Mike Wortman, Chezo Rizzo, Pete Van Gool and Jez Banks. Then race 3 went the way of Pete Newman ahead of Martin Sampson and Kip Stevens, second and third. Ben Sharp into the top 5 yet again, finishing 4th place ahead of Ryan Main. Then we're going to have a look over to the 4th and final race, and it was Steve Hefford getting off into winning ways for Team Momo ahead of Pete Newman and Jamie Ayres. Kip Stevens finishing in 4th place and Riva Varke coming home in 5th. And we can have a look and see what that has done to the standings. Top 5 as always in Pro. We're going to have a little bit of a look if I can get the standings up, go through the sheet, find the stats. Here we go. And it is, unsurprisingly, Ben Sharp leading the field still from Silverstone. He had a lead going into it and he's managed to extend that to 45 points, the margin to Pete Newman. Just behind them is Pete Van Gool in 3rd place. Kip Stevens has dropped 2 into 4th, and Jamie Ayres is well, a big riser. He's up into 5th place in the championship now. Moving over to have a look at the AMs, and it is Martin Sampson at the top, but only 7 points clear of Roy Vivarke, the two Automech Knock Hill boys, having a commanding lead. But I say commanding, is you only have to look further down by about 14 points to find Jamie Gulliford there in 3rd place, I think, for Fury Simsport, ahead of Nicholas Clibbins, a newcomer to the BSR series, joint 4th place with Charles Kellyman. Then, last but not least, have a look at the team standings, and it is Team Momo leading, as they often tend to do, but quite close behind them, only 127 points, is 4040 Racing. They're ahead of Year 1 TV, Team Optical, and then Team Automech Knock Hill in 5th place. And now that that's all done out of the way, we can focus on the action on track as we're coming into the last moments of practice. We can see that Pete Newman seems to be the quickest driver here, but Ben Sharp only about 0.2 of a second back, keeping him honest.
Yeah, he's been keeping him honest all series, to be honest, and it's looking like it's going to be sort of spicing up, I should say, you could say, to be another good round of racing between these two. As we say, I think the previous the last 3 or 4 rounds of the Pro Series in 2020 ended in some fantastic racing between the two of them, and that looked like it was going to be set up for the Silverstone as well. But like you mentioned, Ed, unfortunately, Pete Newman just lost his braking zone on cold tyres going into, I think it was Brooklands or Luffield. I can't remember which one's the left hand on, ever. And he just got a little bit of a tap on the rear of Ben Sharp, ending that race a little bit early. But as the drivers flood out onto the historic Oulton Park circuit, we'll be able to get a good idea whether Pete Newman's going to actually have the pace and have the space to actually put down his lap time that he's been putting in practice.
Yeah, Edward Prager first out of the gates going into this qualifier session, leading the pack. We can see Jamie Ayres, Dan Hunt, Ben Sharp, 3, in fact 4 very quick drivers, as we see Dan Hunt take to the grass. He's going to be hoping to get back onto winning ways. He won in the first race last time out at Silverstone. He's going to see if he can carry that momentum into Oulton Park. And Ben Sharp, I think from last season, I can remember Ben was quite a strong driver here, although they have obviously, like we mentioned for the first round of the series, in the winter series, shall we say, the tyre model has changed, and a lot of the drivers now weaving left and right, trying to get some heat into them. They don't got through the full layout. This is, I believe, the island, so you don't need to do the funky little Knickerbrook chicane or any of that nonsense over at the Shell Oil corner. No, it's just the full flat out fast flowing corners. It's brilliant layout, and we can see Steve Hefford as he comes through Druids. All of the cars are relatively close on track, so drafting is certainly at a premium.
Yeah, it is, unless you spin off the circuit like we've just seen one of the drivers do there. I think that was Carl Jacquelet. In fact, no, it wasn't Carl Jacquelet, or did he spin in sympathy? No, he just goes a little bit wide there. So just like you were saying there, the tyre warming, a key components of the new tyre model, and all these drivers, I'm sure, have done a little bit of practice, but time is at a bit of a premium at this time of year, really, isn't it? You can't jump onto the sim and do as much practice as you might be thinking, unless, obviously, you're in Tier 4, in which case, the only thing you probably are doing is the fact that you are driving on your sim.
Yeah, exactly. It's maybe a lot of the people down south might be able to get away with it as well, though. If you're up north, you're not in Tier 4, but you're likely to be snowed in like Graham is, so maybe they've been able to get a few extra hours in the sim beforehand. It's all the time you can put into it really pays back, and then some. I've found that whenever I hop into a session, I'm never quite at the level I want to be, so getting any extra laps is certainly much appreciated. And as well, the whole BSR community, they have the fun little sessions on a Monday just before this race, where it's at the same track, same sort of format, and just go out and have a bit of fun. No points are being scored. Then also, big shout out to Alan Toon, who hosts a little bit of a Friday session, just not only racing, but just a nice practice session, and get some guys really get a baseline, I think, to work on setups before going into the Mondays and the Tuesdays. Yeah,
there's so many reasons why to give Alan Toon a shout out, but one of them is the fact that obviously he does put so much effort in, and unfortunately he's found himself off at the exit of the Island Hairpin. Anybody who's familiar with the touring cars, I think it was last year, will be familiar with that sort of scene. thanks to the, I think it was oil put down by Rory Butcher's car. Meant that my brother actually got a podium, which was very, very, very unexpected at the time. But it's something that we did enjoy. But yeah, I think Alan too, he does an awful lot for the BSR community, and he's one of the drivers that whenever we have an opportunity to have a chat, I'm gonna pan the camera off him now because I feel like he's probably not best pleased that we're showing with his misdemeanors. But he's one of the characters that we always try and have a chat to if we do ever get the chance. Everybody in the chat, everybody who's watching, hello and welcome. Please do let us know if the volumes need to be changed or anything like that, whether the cars are drowning us out or anything, because Ed's managed to get himself a new computer and a new headset, which is looking sounding very fine indeed. I've gone and got myself a new monitor, which is also sort of mixed with the settings a little bit, so please do let us know if everything sounds good and a-okay and we're ready to start the stream, because it's better to sort it out now than later on. But it looks like Pete Newman is cutting through. That's not Jez Banks, is it? It's one of the other 44 cars. Just trying to chase down Steve Hefford to work with the Momo teammates here. Yeah,
exactly. Steve Hefford currently on the provisional pole ahead of Pete Newman, down Hunt in third. Rover Varkey top in AM. Just following our drivers. You can also see on the right hand side a little bit of a fun, interesting graphic is the I rating spread of these drivers. Unsurprisingly, the drivers with the most, Hefford and Newman, are in the top 2 spots, 5k and 5.6k respectively. Those are, well, massive I ratings compared to my 2.4k, that's for certain.
Yeah, and if I knew how to put them up or get rid of them, then I would have claimed responsibility for that, bringing that a nice piece of information. But to be honest, it's not something I can see how to take off. So, by the looks of it, if you don't want your I rating being shown tonight, tough luck, because it's being shown.
Well, we can see a driver that's just got to the top of the timing sheets, and that is Ben Sharp. In fact, both Ben Sharp, Pete Van Gool, and Pete Newman all improved on their previous lap times. It is Ben Sharp, best of the rest so far. He's setting a blinding lap time. We're going to see if we can follow on board with Ben if possible and just take you through the final bit, because it seems at the moment his lap times have been looking very strong as we come now down the hill, going up through, in fact, where on earth are we? Are we just going to go down through Knickerbrook now, coast it in nice and tight, then you come over Clay Hill there underneath the Advan Bridge, holding a nice tight line, washing out, and then trying to cut in. There's a bit of smoke up in front for me, and then he's going to try and stay as left as possible, carry the speed in through Druid's Corner. He gets a nice early stab at the throttle, manages to hold it through underneath the Carlo Bridge, and then up to Lodge Corner, dipping down, using the camber on the inside to try and favour him as we see his spinner off. And oh, that's Cesare Rizzo. Is that hampered Ben Sharp? I don't think he backed out of it. So he's going to be trying to improve now as he comes up to the timing line. Is it improvement for Ben Sharp? No, not quite. He might have been held up a little bit from that drums as he comes now through Old Hall, down through Cascades. Now you have to really have a tight line, then wash all the way out nice and late to Apex on the throttle as you can. You can see there's a Fury SimSport car, and the Fury SimSport and 4040 and obviously Year One, they've all been in the same Discord together, but it's got a bit hectic, so I don't know if they've had to change arrangements or not. I was talking to some of them after, I believe it was Brands Hatch, that there was a bit of confusion in the comms with so many drivers being there, so I think they've had to make an amendment. As we see, that's Jamie Gulliford, I think, just going off into the tyre barrier, but keeping out of the way of Ben Sharp.
Yeah, something he won't be too pleased with, actually, Jamie Gulliford, because he hasn't actually set a lap time yet. Now, it can be for a number of reasons why you haven't set a lap time, because obviously with 7 minutes in, you would expect them to be able to make one rotation. Jamie Gulliford actually hasn't made one rotation yet, so that was actually his outlap, but there's a whole host of other drivers. James Birch, who I think is relatively new to the championship, he's done 2.5 laps now without setting a lap time, and that's probably down to the fact that he's had an off-track. He's maybe cut the corner, maybe he's gone too wide in certain places, maybe he's had an incident point for contact as Ben Sharp gets a little bit loose on the entry into Old Hall there as he drops down the dip and across the start-finish line. But yeah, a few drivers that haven't been able to quite hook that together. Shane Piggott probably being the most notable one out of all of those, actually. Ashley Stimpson as well, who did a good job last time out at Silverstone, bit of hit and miss, but made good progress, and I'm sure they'll be hoping to maybe take that next step forward. And let's have a look at a few of the other drivers who are new to the Winter Series Championship. Edward Mapraga yet again in the top 5, Ed. doing a good job. At Silverstone, he was rapid. I think he got a podium or a race win. I can't remember off the top of my head. But he's really showing that he's a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, Edward Prager, he's been around in the BSR community beforehand, and I think this is his first proper stab at, well, a full season-long run, or for as long as the season run he can manage. I'm going to try and find through the stats now that you've thrown those at me to find out if Edward Prager does actually have any race wins or any podiums to his name. I've got to have a look through, and he has got a podium, so I think you are right on the money there. He managed to pick up one at Silverstone. I've got to try and scroll through and see which race it was. And it was in the first race. You were right. Yeah, he managed to finish third, just behind Pete Van Gool and Dan Hunt in a race that really saw. I think he probably profited a lot off of Ben Sharp and Pete Newman's, well, misfortune. But you've got to be there, and you've got to take the chances when they come to you, don't they?
Yeah, and speaking of Dan Hunt, he's actually put it on pole. But let's have a look at Dave Buki, because if you can look on your qualifying stats on the bottom of your screen, he's actually putting in some purple lap times at the moment. So let's have a look at Buki. He's going to come across the line. His first half of the lap was extremely quick. His second half, maybe not quite so much. He is a pro, Dave Buki. Unfortunately, he isn't highlighted, but I will try and get that sorted out. A 129.6 means he stuck himself right in the middle here.
Yeah, Dave Buki is a fellow runner in the Civic Cup, I believe, alongside with, well, the man that we like to talk a lot about, Ben Sharp. The pair of them race not together, but more against each other, shall we say. And there's been plenty of on-track action between the pair of them, both in the real and virtual world. And it's good to see that little fun little rivalry is continuing on here in the BSR Winter Series. Having a look through the field as well, Edward Prager is in 5th place. He's doing quite well at this Oulton Park circuit. But another driver that's doing well, got to shine the light on Carl Jacquelet. He's up in 6th.
He is indeed, yeah, and I'll just have a look at Carl. He's not exactly in the slipstream either. He's got Cesare Rizzo just ahead of him, but at the moment it doesn't look like he's getting that much of a tow from him. Let's have a look at how his lap is getting on so far. He's put in a green sector 2, so you may well see him get an improvement. Charles Kellerman is also improving in 18th at the moment. You can see yet again in the qualifying sort of stats at the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, and I was actually watching Carl Jacquelet behind the wheel of a Volkswagen Jetta last night, and he was mightily impressive in that, and he's certainly been carrying that forward and doing a great job here at Oulton Park, just getting out of the way of one of the optical sim racing cars before coming down through final corner up through Deer Leap and starting a new flying lap. Cesare Rizzo is improving on his personal best, but it's only enough to put him in 26th place is Cesare, so he's seemingly struggling here at Oulton Park. Having a look through the field as well, what other names are going to jump out at us? Jamie Gulliford has now set a lap time, a valid lap time, and he's put it in 12th place, the 3rd fastest AM so far.
Yeah, indeed. And I'm just sorting out a few of those drivers that weren't necessarily actually sort of involved with the... Oh, well, basically they didn't have a pro or an AM category. So if you are watching this, anybody out there who... Well, basically Chris Slater and the likes, do let us know if we've got them categorised slightly wrong. Unfortunately, I was working off an old project file, which means a few of those names weren't added. But hopefully everything will run smoothly. And really, it's all about the racing, isn't it? That's what I try and keep reminding myself. Jamie Ayres on nothing but greens at the moment. He's in 6th place thanks to a very quick lap time, overtaking Carl Jacquelet and dispossessing his 6th position away. So 128.5, sorry, actually purpled the first sector. And is that a blowout just ahead of it? No, it's a bit of a spin there by one of the other drivers. Let's see who that was. I think it was actually... no, it wasn't Dan Hunt. It might have been Nicholas Clibbins.
Oh no, I can't quite see it on my end, but I think you might be right on that one, Jack. He's having a decent time in qualifying, not quite up, I don't think, where he would be hoping for. We see a rather funky looking car in the pit lane there. Dan Hunt, though, is still the provisional pole sitter, but it's very slim margins, isn't it? Not even a 10th of a second between himself and Ben Sharp. Pete Newman, there's a decent gap between Sharp and Newman, which is surprising to see. Usually they're much closer than that, aren't they? Separated by, what, a whisker usually. So it's strange that Pete Newman's not been quite on the pace. I'm saying that. He's in 3rd place.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did have Ben Hunt, mixing the two then, Ben Sharp coming in the first round, didn't we, the Winter Series, saying that the time mode does mix things up a little bit, and he claimed that they wouldn't be able to even get through the rest of the field because it's closed up everybody so much. It's gone from too much oversteer to too much understeer. Now, since then, as you mentioned, Ed, in the sort of prelude of qualifying, the time model has changed it once or twice even more, which has sort of thrown some more spanners in the works, and it's meant that drivers have had to continually adapt. Now, those who have been able to put more lap times in have been able to adapt more, and Pete Newman, ever the professional, he's just putting a 127.6, top of the pile by 0.2 of a second. It helps when you're getting drafted by two other very fast drivers in Steve Hefford and Dan Hunt.
I'm going to take full credit for that one. I was calling him out, and he immediately responded, didn't he? Going 0.2 of a second faster than Dan Hunt and Ben Sharp. That's a mighty lap time, and with the toe he managed to grab there, I sincerely doubt anyone being able to get close enough without the help that Pete Newman did. I'm having a look through and seeing if Ben Sharp's going to be on a quicker lap time. I'm looking at the sectors. It doesn't seem to me that he is. Who else could improve? Pete Van Gool might be on track to go a little bit quicker. He's set green postal bests in sectors 3 and 4. And who on earth is this with the funky paint job?
Well, I mean, it doesn't take much of a guess to figure it out. It's Kip Stevens, who's about to come round and start what I think is his first and what will be his only flying lap of the session so far. And I didn't know he had that kind of paintwork on his car. I'm quite glad I've highlighted it, though. I only highlighted him because he's one of those drivers that really should improve, due to the fact that he hasn't actually set a lap time yet. But that is some... It's bold is what it is. We won't be missing that one as it comes through the field.
No, certainly not. But you've got on to Kip. That's actually reminded me of something, and that is that from this round onwards, we have a new system. We have a bit of a stewarding system. We've got plenty of drivers here that have willingly volunteered their time. To have a look at some incidents after the race, all come together and try and ensure that the driving standards are keeping at that top level, because we have started to admittedly see some of that slip down from the past 2 rounds, and now we're get to the point where we're getting some more drivers here, getting a whole sense of community and trying to clean up the BSR Pro Series, which is good to see. And Kip Stevens, I think he might be getting a few protests because that is an assault on the eyes.
Yeah, it's brave, as I said before. We are keeping an eye on him, though, because he should be the driver that will improve the most, I imagine. I don't see anybody else sticking in multiple green sectors apart from Kip. So as he comes across the line, let's see where he gets up to. Nearly done. The checkered flag has dropped, by the way, so any drivers that are currently out on circuit, this is their last lap. Kip Stevens coming across the line. Let's see where he ends up. And it's only good enough for 25th.
That's surprising. We saw Kip Stevens usually fighting towards the sharp end, usually in the top 10, so to see him qualify 25th is very surprising. He's probably spent more time on his paint than he's been on his actual driving at this circuit, it seems.
Yeah, it's not the ideal for him. We have got a few of the drivers that are still out there. Dan Hunt and Pete Newman and Steve Hefford all come across the line. Steve Hefford improves. The other two don't seem to, but Steve Hefford certainly has, and that's actually put him up to 4th place. And that's knocked Jamie Ayres down to 6th. Rapraga is 7th place, and I think actually that was only Pete Van Gool that Hefford overtook. So the Momo boys 4, 5 and 6, but we'll be able to give you obviously the full rundown as and when we're able to. James Birch on his new livery. I definitely haven't seen that one before, so he is new to the championship. He was one of the drivers that didn't set a lap time earlier in the session. He's in 22nd at the moment. Let's see how he can get on. Andrew Jebson as well, just behind him, looking very smart in the Air Force liveried car. So these 2 drivers relatively new to the championship. Jebson obviously having raced in the first 2. He's got Project Cars on the back of his car. Does anybody want to tell him that maybe he's not racing in that series at the moment? But we'll be able to give you the results and the full rundown of the order, Ed.
Yeah, we certainly can. If we can figure it out. It's a funny system. Why can't we have Graham? Graham's going to be on it like a rocket. We give him grief, but he's certainly useful when he feels like it, isn't he? As we can hopefully get the graph up on our screen. And there we go. Pete Newman on pole position, as he often is, ahead of Dan Hunt, Ben Sharp in 3rd place, and Steve Hefford in 4th, with Pete Van Gool 5th and Jamie Ayres 6th. Fourth row of the grid sees Edward Praga alongside Carl Jacquelet and Jez Banks, the top AM, alongside with the former AM, Mike Wortman, and Roy Vivarke, Adrian Hendy, 11th and 12th. Then 13th down sees Shane Piggott alongside with Charles Kellyman, Jamie Gulliford, Steve Hansford, Cesare Rizzo, Ralph Cullen, and Chris Slater with David Buki in 20th. Mick Barry, James Birch, Ryan Main, and Andrew Jebson in 24th. And then we've still got a few more drivers to go. It's Kip Stevens ahead of Simon Robson, Nicholas Clibbins, Ashley Stimpson, Alan Toon, and Alexander Roggenbuck, rounding out this 30-car grid for Oulton Park. And this is going to be an amazing race to watch, isn't it? You've got 30 cars all on track, also closely matched as well. A circuit that we've said before is very difficult to overtake on, but oftentimes BSR, they'll prove us wrong in every chance they get.
Yeah, I mean, Oulton Park is famous. I remember covering this in the Pro Series with you earlier in the year, Ed, and I said you definitely can't overtake here, there, and everywhere. They proved us wrong, but I'll hand over to you because we've got the red lights on our screen.
Yes, and for the first time this evening at Oulton Park, we are racing here, and it is Pete Newman getting the good getaway, getting ahead of Dan Hunt, who seems to bog down. That gives Ben Sharp all the time he needs to swoop around the outside into the first corner now. He's right up behind the rear bumper of the Pierre Sims car. Ben Sharp racing for 40-40, even if he's got his Ben Sharp Racing livery on. Side by side though, between the Momo teammates, that's Pete Van Gool getting alongside, getting through on Steve Hefford, but now they're going to be going three wide as they come up to the hairpin. No, they're not. They're going to be having Steve Hefford leading them up, Jamie Ayres as well, and then down the inside, that's Edward Praga on Pete Van Gool. He's going to have it. Is he going to get on the throttle early enough? I think he might do. He's a little bit loose though on the rear, and that's compromised his run down towards Nico Brook here as he comes up through the right-hander. They're still going to be going side by side. Ed's not going to be wanting to give it up, but I think he kind of has to now, as he can see Carl Jacquelet carrying him through there. It wasn't worth going side by side and having a mistake this early into the race. Carl Jacquelet in 8th though, under pressure here from Jez Banks, the top AM driver, doing very well in the top 10, still holding on to that 9th position that he qualified in. Mike Waltman seemingly dropping back, and now down the inside, is this the run that Jez Banks needed to get alongside and get through, as we see some smoke in the foreground down the inside, but you can see Carl Jacquelet, he brakes late enough, but he brakes too late. Here we go, Jez Banks round down the inside. Carl Jacquelet has to go off onto the grass. Still go, he's not giving up, is he? He's going to try and go around the outside into turn 1. Will he be able to brake late enough? We saw him brake late, it was too late, and now he can't really fight back. He's going to try and sweep around the outside, but he can't. Jez Banks forces him outside wide a little bit, nothing too harsh there. This has been a great opening lap, and oh, collision there, Shane Piggott. And who is that? Is that Roy Vivarke? I think it is. So unfortunately, Shane Piggott has had a bit of a coming together. The two cars latching onto one another, and oh, they're almost getting rammed up the rear by, who was that? Might have been, oh, in fact, I'm having
Simon Robson.
Simon Robson, but for me, it's saying that some drivers are further down than they actually are, so I'm not entirely sure what is going on with my SDK. It's seemingly having a bit of a moment here.
Yeah, well, I was just having a look as well. Steve Hansford, he's down. This is on the opening lap, and look, they just get mounted on the inside of the first corner there. Kip Stevens having to take evasive action as well, and in fact he goes back, and I'll try and rewind it. This is the start. Keep an eye on Steve Hansford. He's in the green optical car there, and unfortunately a few of the drivers, I think Jebson was involved there, and the number 32 car of Ralph Cullinan ends up just getting a bit too close together on the first lap there. They probably needed to calm that one down, but at the moment Pete Newman is still leading the way from Ben Sharp. Dan Hunt, Steve Hefford, Jamie Ayres, Pete Van Gool and Edward Praga are the train all fighting for first place. And to be honest, that's making it of a stellar lineup, isn't it? Here, the Winter Series has really attracted some of the biggest and best of the MX5 Pro Series from 2020. Dan Hunt coming back into the championship. Ben Sharp obviously trying to get a bit more of a consistent run in the races. Pete Newman obviously coming back after a strong end to the 2020 Pro Series. And Jamie Ayres obviously champion as well. Pete Van Gool ever improving. Edward Praga is slightly new to it. So it's really bumping up to be a stellar grid. If only we had the likes of Dave Chapman back as well. That would really make it really make it very interesting. But a couple of other drivers who have improved quite well. Nicholas Clibbins, he's up 8 positions and up to 19th place.
Yeah, Nicholas Clibbins is having a great run of things. He was one of the drivers that I was worried was going to have a collision with Shane Piggott coming out down through Cascades, but he was able to keep the awareness about him and keep himself nice and clean. Just behind Clibbins is Jamie Gulliford there in 19th place as Nicholas Clibbins runs a little bit wide going through Knickerbrook. So to see a replay here. What's happened to Simon Robson?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm just trying to find that one out. He just seems, I don't know if he gets turned around a little bit. It doesn't look as the most professional thing in the world, but I'm just going to rewind it. Coming down into Lodge Corner, it seems that he just comes across slightly, and there's just an awful lot of cars going for braking zones there, isn't it? A number 58 car diving up the inside as well. It's never going to end well. And I think it is the number 58 car who makes contact. And just looking up, that's James Birch. Just outbroke himself up the inside, and you don't really get away with that in the likes of the BSR Pro Series. Maybe you would in the normal series, normal MX5 racing, but not in the BSR.
No, and speaking of rewinding it, I'm certain that Simon would love to have rewound that and started all over again. It was an unfortunate incident that has sent him down the order, and Ralph Cullinan has been involved in an incident here. Yeah,
he just goes straight on, it seems, at the Island Hairpin. So iRacing has lied, and that's not as exciting as I thought it was going to be. But in fact, I think it was Alan Toon having a moment down Cascades. It is indeed, and that is probably one of the worst positions you can be in a race car on this circuit, because you can't really see left or right enough to actually rejoin the circuit, and he's just about got away with that.
Yeah, and Toon rejoining on the circuit in a safe manner. Very well done from Mr. Toon here. Very well done though from Pete Newman, still leading the race as they come through Druids here. Ben Sharp keeping that gap though, not giving Pete Newman any breathing space whatsoever as they come through the right hander here, up through the rise of the final corner. They're keeping each other very honest, aren't they?
They are indeed, yeah. It's nose to tail, and this is often what you see out of racing around Oulton Park. No matter what series it's in, it can be extremely close to follow, but overtaking is another piece of pie. It's different in all aspects, really. I've only ever done it a couple of times, really. A clean through overtake around Oulton Park in real life or in the simulation world. One of them was into Cascades, which I was quite proud of. But if you've got a driver who's got his wits about him and doesn't have to worry about attacking the car in front, it's all very difficult because defending is very easy. And you can see that Dan Hunt is actually trying to take advantage of the fact that Ben Sharp has to attack the driver ahead. And a little bit of a drift shows how much Dan Hunt is actually pushing this car. So Ben Sharp's actually in the hardest position now because he's got the impossible task of having to get past the leader, Pete Newman, who knows how to lead a race. And he's also got the problem of trying to defend from Dan Hunt. You can't do one and do the other at the same time. You have to choose pretty much around Oulton Park. So Ben Sharp, you'll be seeing him come offline as soon as he gets to the back of Pete Newman, and that'll give Dan Hunt the opportunity to get the momentum and the run on him into the next couple of corners.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there. It's so difficult when you're in second place. Try and figure out if you're going to attack or if you need to defend more. And you can see that Dan Hunt is hungry. He wants to get better than second place. He feels like he has the speed in his locker to catch up and overtake Pete Newman. But at the same time, Ben Sharp, we know how quick he is. We know that he's able to judge the moves till the best opportunity for him. He's just seemingly getting unlucky with the run out of the corners sometimes, as we see Pete Newman, he runs over the grass, uses all of the circuit and a little bit more as he sets the fastest lap of the race so far, 1:28.13. Close margins though between himself and Ben Sharp, and it's been like that all the race. He's not been able to break the toe at all from Ben Sharp. And now looking down the inside, is he going to try and break late enough? No, not quite. He's putting the pressure though on Pete Newman, and Ben Sharp, he's going to have to try and keep this on, try and force a mistake from Pete Newman, because I think that's going to be the only way he can make the overtake into first place, and maybe the only way by going to the inside to defend as well for a very hungry looking Dan Hunt.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm sure that there is plenty of other action going on around Oulton Park right now, but this is sort of where we've got to look at the moment, because it's three of the top drivers of any of the championships they ever enter. Ben Sharp's looking to have to do, he's going to have to defend into Druids. They are going side by side, Dan Hunt trying to hang around the outside. Good move there, done by Dan Hunt so far. I had to elongate that good to make sure he'd actually done it, because Ben Sharp gave him racing room, but they're not over yet. And round the outside, down Lodge, is Dan Hunt trying to get across Ben Sharp now as they dive down into Deer Leap and across the start-finish line. Yet again, they're side by side. This is exactly the kind of overtaking you have to do around Oulton Park. You have to line it up half a lap in advance. Going round the outside of the first corner is Dan Hunt, and Steve Hefford is flying along as well. 2 in 1 potentially for Hefford down into Cascades. Can he outbrake Dan Hunt as he's overtaken Ben Sharp? Hefford looking to take 2 in 1. He's going to have to settle for 1 at the moment, but Ben Sharp yet again is carrying the momentum round the outside, and by the looks of it, he's going to be able to defend this one into Island Hairpin.
Yeah, he's got a good run out the corner, so he might be able to try and take the place back on Dan Hunt. He's looking to the inside partly as well to defend from Steve Hefford. They go side by side, wheel to wheel, a bit of potentially contact there between the pair of them. But now around the outside, Steve Hefford is going to get the slipstream, and going into Nürburgring, I think it will be the Momo driver's place. Unfortunate for Ben Sharp, he was just caught out by the nose being poked down the inside through Druids. But it's actually going side by side for it. He's going for it, is Ben. He's going to try it. Now around the outside, over the crest of the hill, try and get the inside for Druids and do what Dan Hunt did to him. He has his nose down the inside. He's broke late enough, but there's contact, and that's the Momo driver spinning off into the gravel. And heavy, sickening collision with the wall. But all of this fighting has allowed Dan Hunt, not Dan Hunt, even the what was it, Pete Newman, all of the time he needed to get off and get a 1 second margin. Although I want to see if we can get a replay of what happened between Ben Sharp and Steve Hefford, because it looked like there was just the smallest bit of contact. And that was enough, sadly, to send him off into the wall. We're going to get a replay here. Exactly what happens. It's difficult to see from the angle. There's not much further right that Ben Sharp can go in that situation. They're both going to be fighting hard. And I think when you're going side by side through Druids, it's an inevitable consequence of close racing, I think.
Yeah, well, I think if we play it without the quarter speed on board, yeah, you can hear just a little touch of contact. And as you said, going into Druids, the car's under so much load, you have to carry so much speed around the outside. It's always so difficult to, I don't know why we're going slowly here or on a replay, but give me a minute.
If we need to, we can talk at normal speed now. Here we go. We've got Ben Sharp going.
He's actually fighting
side.
with Pete Van Gool now.
Pete Van Gool now, yes. So this is the Momo drivers. They go for revenge. They don't want their driver Steve Hefford to be out of pocket. They want to try and take Ben Sharp's 3rd position. If it wasn't for one of them, it'll be one. If it wasn't for one of the Momo drivers, it'll be the others, won't it? They're all fighting together. They're going to have to use every bit of teamwork they can to keep the fight going. And I say that, you can see that it's difficult for the two drivers. They're getting crossed over each other. They feel like one of them gets the better run out of the corner than the other, but then in trying to give the position back to one another, they lose out, and that gives Ben Sharp a bit of breathing space, because he's like, all right, lads, you keep fighting. I'm just going to hold on to 3rd place for what is going to be, I think, the final lap, as we've just seen Pete Newman come across the line. In fact, yes, I think this will be the final lap of the race, and it is the Pure Sims driver leading ahead of Dan Hunt. In fact, I say it could be the last lap. This might be close. In fact, I don't think I'm anywhere near it, because I've had a look, and I think we've still got 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, we've had a little off for Chris Slater here in the RAF car, I believe. I think he just goes a touch wide. Down, he's in 20th position at the moment. Yeah, just gets his braking wrong. Kip Stevens nips up the inside of him. I think that's the only damage done to him so far. Just having a look at a couple of the other sort of positions that are battling on, to be honest. And I think we've got some good racing. Adrian Hendy's in the wars with Cesare Rizzo, and of course now Steve Hefford. Charles Kellyman in that fight as well. And having a look and giving a highlight to Jez Banks, who is currently the leader of the AM class in 8th position himself. He is fighting with Carl Jacquelet and Mike Wortman, recently promoted to the pro category. And I believe this means that, well, Jez is quite far away from Charles Kellyman. He's in a good position here to take the overall victory for the AMs.
There he is. He's also going to be banking some good points for Team 40 Racing. Jez Banks, Ed Rupraga and Ben Sharp all making up 40 Racing. They're sitting 3rd, 6th and 8th. So good handful of points for them. But they've also got Team Momo scoring well. Pete Van Gool, Jamie Ayres and Steve Hefford all within the top 10 places as well. So we're going to be trying to follow this through the night, and it's good to have some competition here at the top of the field, both for race wins, but also for team championships. Good to see that it's not going to be Momo having an easy time with things, as we see Daniel Hunt. He's now got the move. He's got the run on Pete Newman. He's going to try and go around the outside of the hairpin here. He's broke a little bit too early, going instead for the cutback maneuver, but it actually gives a bit of a friendly bump up the rear of the Pure Sims car as to slot back into the slipstream. Pete Newman parked his car perfectly on the apex there, and now down the inside, Dan Hunt's going to be going side by side through the fast right-hander here. He's going to have a bit of door bang and a bit of contact. Oh, a squirm
well
there
held
for Dan Hunt. Brilliantly held, yes. Absolutely great driving between the pair of them, giving each other just an inch and nothing more as they come through Druids now. I don't think there might be enough time for an extra lap from this. It might be touch and go, as they've got just a couple more corners to go. They might just get an extra lap out of this.
Yeah, touch and go is certainly the driving, sort of the aggressive nature that Dan Hunt's putting on Pete Newman at the moment. He wants to touch and pass and go, but you will be right. It's going to be 11 seconds, and I think we are going to be going on to the final lap of the race now as we're coming across the start-finish line with 5 seconds to go. Hopefully everybody's fueled up for one extra lap, because it happens quite a lot where the front drivers are a lot quicker than those would expect further back. So we are on one extra lap. Hopefully no one has to come in for a pit stop or runs out of fuel, because that has happened a couple of times.
It certainly has, as we see Dan Hunt, he's getting up behind. This is where he tried to make the pass last time. You can see immediately Pete Newman is wise to it. He's going defensive straight away, and then comes it off at the last minute, forces Dan Hunt onto the grass. His car squirms and squiggles around under braking. He does well to hold it though, and now into the slipstream. Dan Hunt is going to see that Pete Newman's going defensive, forcing Daniel Hunt around the outside now. The DOF reality driver going wheel to wheel with Pete Newman. Two brilliant drivers in their own right. Here we go. Is there going to be contact? A bit of a jump over the curb, and he's going to hold it as Pete Newman. He's going to have, though, the outside line, and this is where Dan Hunt can try and make life difficult. Try and force his car side by side up through Druids. He's going to be along the outside. He's already made this pass once before on Ben Sharp. Can he do it on Pete Newman? It's going to be so close. They're going to be going side by side now into the final couple of corners. It's edge of your seat racing here at Oulton Park. The first race is certainly not disappointed. Nose ahead for Daniel Hunt, but around the inside, is it going to be Pete Newman? He forces Daniel Hunt just off the circuit, but now the inside, it's a drag race to the line, and I think Daniel Hunt's going to have his nose just ahead, and I think he takes it. Daniel Hunt, for me, has taken the race victory in dramatic fashion on the very last corner of the race ahead of Pete Newman. Ben Sharp manages to take home a third place ahead of Pete Van Gool and Jamie Ayres. Jez Banks managed to hold on to take the M-Class victory in 8th place. Carl Jackalette did a great job as well to finish in 7th position. Going to see a replay, though, of just how close it was between Dan Hunt and Pete Newman. The PSC driver, look, he's trying to squeeze him. There's such close race and a bit of a sparks flying here, and that's sparks have been flying on a race, to be honest. Drag race up to the line. You can see the timing line coming up, inches separating the two drivers. They always come together at the same point, but it was by such a small margin. Daniel Hunt taking the race victory here this evening for the first time tonight, and what a way to kick off the evening's entertainment.
Yeah, it was brilliant, really. And Dan Hunt, Pete Newman, obviously the two drivers that won the most amount of races in the 2020 Pro Series, going hammer and tongs at it. Obviously, Ben Sharp fell away a little bit after that contact with Steve Hefford. We'll be able to bring you the full rundown of the results as soon as everybody has crossed the line. But just take it in, because this is exactly what the kind of racing we want from these MX5 drivers. We always say, everyone always says, you can't overtake around Oulton Park. It's tricky, but these MX5 drivers are showing that it is not impossible. In fact, with enough gusto and belief, you can pretty much pass anywhere. It's a luck of the draw whether you come out the other side, obviously. But we'll hopefully have that'll be the show of signs to come, or sign of things to come, I should say, there, Ed. And really, it's what we love, isn't it? Obviously, you weren't here for Silverstone. I bet you're glad you're here now.
Oh, I am. I want to see if we can see that move kicked off, which was all the way down back at Nürburgring. It was amazing side-by-side action for half the lap, and it was Daniel Hunt taking the race victory by, well, under a 1/10 of a second. In fact, it was 0.02 of a second separating Dan Hunt from second place Pete Newman. Ben Sharp managed to hold off from the two Momo drivers, harrying him for third place. Pete Van Gool finishing ahead of Jamie Ayres. Edward Praga had a bit of an anonymous race in sixth place, along with Carl Jacquelet and Jez Banks in eighth place, who took the AM victory. Michael Walkman and Steve Hefford round out the overall top 10 with Adrian Hendy and Cesare Rizzo. Charles Kellyman and Jamie Gulliford rounding out the AM podium with Dave Bucke, Ryan Main, Nicholas Clibbins and Kip Stevens in 18th place, doing a great job to come through from near enough the back of the grid, did Kip. Then 19th down, if we can try and figure out how to do that. It's a tricky situation without Graham around for us. It's hard on all of us, but Steve Hansford here, 19th, ahead of Andrew Jebson, Ashley Stimpson, Mick Barry, Simon Robson, Chris Slater, Alexander Roggenbuck, Ralph Condon, River Varkay, Shane Piggott, Alan Toon, and James Birch finishing in 30th place. And now, I just remembered something.
Yeah,
how are we going to do the reverse grid?
That's what I was trying to figure out whilst you were reading out the things, and that's why I missed it up. I do have an idea, but for now, I'm gonna call out, like we did last time we had to do this, and I'm just gonna call out a full reverse grid. We will have a random number generator ready and waiting in the wings for the next, for the last two races of the evening. But for now, I think, Ed, do you agree that we can just throw out a full reverse grid?
Yeah, throw a full out. I was going to say last time, I think it was Le Mans where I had to get my magic dice out.
Yes, it was.
It's not really a great pretty graphic, so we're going to see if we can do that. If not, I suppose it'll be down to everyone at home to trust that I'm rolling the dice fairly.
Well, I was going to say, if I can find a dice, I'll get my webcam on and I'll roll it in front of the ladies and gentlemen at home. But for now, we're going to give a full reverse grid, and actually, technically, it's Alan Toon in 29th position because he is the only driver. Well, he's the last driver to be eligible for the reverse grid position, thanks to the fact that James Birch ended up 2 laps down. So Alan Toon will be on pole position. Hopefully everybody is okay with that with the BSR community, and they'll be able to boot that session up as sooner rather than later. I don't know if we've got any drivers in the interview. Have we? What a delight!
It's been an amazing thing, and I think I will drag in our AM victor for this race, the first race of the evening here at Oulton Park, and it was Jez Banks having a great race. You did great out there, man. It was entertaining to say the least. It was action everywhere we looked.
Yeah, it was good. I think from what I saw as well, it was quite a clean race. I think maybe the reintroduction of the penalty system has improved driving standards a bit, maybe.
Yeah, certainly. I think all the drivers are on their best behaviour, as to be said. It's been great, though, hasn't it? It's great to see as well that the community's getting behind this new penalty system and really trying to ensure that driving's nice and close, as we saw driving between you and Carl Jacquelet.
Yeah, that was I had a bit of a sweat on with that, really. That was myself, and from a team points point of view as well, myself and Ed both had 0x with about 4 laps to go. So it was like, well, that's 10 points. So we can't get that through places, so let's try and keep it. But I was trying to keep it while not let Waltman past. So that was quite challenging, but managed it. So that was good. So yeah, so we're hoping for a decent team haul. That's kind of the job with this championship. Although Ben's got a chance of taking the overall, so we'll see.
Yeah, that is something I picked up on actually. Was the fact that you're taking the fight to Momo, aren't you? As long as you can keep finishing the races, and even if you have a bit of unfortunate incidents, as long as you keep that spirit and keep fighting through, you could be on track to challenge Momo.
Well, that's the idea. I think they are still. I think they're 100 and I don't know what 27 points ahead of us going into this round, something like that. So it's definitely able to close the gap on that, I think. And that's what we're trying for. It's definitely a team effort. So we will play for the 5 points where possible. We'll try and play for the fastest laps where possible, because every point counts, as you well know.
Yeah, it certainly does, Jez. And before we say goodbye, is there anyone you want to give a quick shout out to before we get into the next race?
Not really. Just thanks everyone for that race for not having a huge wreck. It was really good, and it hopefully will make the stewarding, which I'm involved in, not 6.5 hours, 7 hours like it was last week.
Me too. Looking forward to that, Jez. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Ed.
So that was Jez Banks, and I think we can have a chat to one of the drivers he was having a good fight with, Carl Jacquelet. That was a great race from you, finishing 7th place. Action everywhere for you as well.
Hello. Before we go on further with the commentary at the interview, there's quite a lot of people saying that the stream isn't working. So I don't know if it's not going out or there's a problem.
If you're looking for it on Year One TV, because Graham is of course snowed in, it's being
Yeah.
broadcast on Jack's channel. I think he's. If you
Okay, I'll
need
pass
to,
that on.
I can try and find the link to that and post that off into
Yes,
the
please.
Facebook group chat for you.
Yeah,
That would
sorry
be good.
about that, Carl. It's assuming Jacko Racing. I unfortunately didn't get the logins for the Year One TV stuff.
Yeah,
so,
not a problem. Not a problem at all. Anyway,
uh,
that was a great race. I thoroughly enjoyed that one. It was had a really good battle with Jez there. Love, lovely pass around the outside on the downhill left-hander halfway through the race, and he couldn't quite get back past me again. Loved it.
Yeah, it was, and I was actually watching you in the Jetters, and has that helped you out? Some fun Jetta racing has got you in the spirit to do even better in the MX5.
I think it might have done because I got a win in the Jettas around here.
Yeah, you have, and it's been great to see sort of how different cars help you out. Is that something that you've learned maybe in the Jetters to take you around here, or is it just more driving helps you get quicker?
I think it's just more driving. I seem to do better in the slower cars. Put me in a GT3 and I'm rubbish.
I'm the opposite, mate. I'm the opposite. But it's great to see you fighting at the front, as we know you can do, and it's good to see you getting back involved in the BSR MX5s.
It's getting there. It's getting there. It's all
Well,
moving forward.
Thank you very much, Carl. We'll go. I think we go for a quick break shortly, so we'll say goodbye. But is there anyone you want to give a quick shout out to first?
Yeah, all the nurses working so hard at the moment who aren't getting the support they should be, or the appreciation they should be.
Yeah, I can echo that, Carl. My mum works at the hospital, so I've been getting daily updates of how panicking it is there. So thank you very much, Carl.
It's a nightmare out there at the moment. People don't realise it.
Well, we'll be hoping that you and everyone will be staying safe while we go for a quick ad break, Jack, I think, and we'll be back very shortly for coverage of the second race this evening at Oulton Park.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we'll be back in a couple of minutes, people. Don't go anywhere, and I just realised now I need to actually deafen myself before anything else. We'll be back in a sec.
didn't know this. This wasn't last time.
Right, well, hello everybody and welcome back to what is a bit of a panicked set of commentators, I have to be honest, because they've gone straight into the next race. So, Ed, there you go, you can read them out.
Ah, you've thrown this on me. Quick, Simon Robson ahead of Mick Barry and Ashley Simpson in third, with Andrew Jebson fourth, Steve Hansford, Kip Stevens, Nicholas Clibbins, Ryan Main, Jamie Gulliford and Charles Kellyman in 10th. 11th down sees Cesare Rizzo and Adrian Hendy. Then it's going to be Steve Hefford, Mike Waltman, Jez Banks, Carl Jackala, Edward Prager, Jamie Ayres, Pete Van Gool, Ben Sharp, Pete Newman, Dan Hunt, Chris Slater, Alexander Roggenbrook, Rav Conan, Roy Vivarke, Shane Pigger, Alan Toon and James Birch. And I think we've got through all of that in time, because very shortly we're going to see some of the drivers lining up on the grid. In fact, we might only see a few drivers lining up on the grid here. We're going to be getting ready, and some drivers have already jumped the start. We've seen Cesare Rizzo, and who was that alongside? That was Stimpson there. And Simon Robson has gotten away off the grid. I'm not sure if this is or if we're going to another session, because not all of the drivers are here. This is a very weird way to kick off the second race of the evening. Simon Robson gets caught out and is already down into sixth place. Up ahead, it's Nicholas Clibbins. And who is that up ahead? That is Stimpson with him. I'm not sure what's going on. Ben Shops just put a message in the chat saying, guys, half the grid are not here. We're not entirely sure what's going on here, but we can see that there's cars on track and racing. We might need to figure out what's going on later and just enjoy the racing for now.
Yeah, well, it's given Ashley Stimpson. Oh, that's a driver going off the side there. That was Simon Robson, I believe. Just trying to catch up. It is Simon Robson, trust me. But Ashley Stimpson currently leading the way. And Ben Sharp was right. We didn't actually have off the grid. I'm not sure what the reverse grid they were going for was either. Obviously, we called out full reverse grid, but if they weren't able to see our stream, then by all means, they were probably made it up themselves. Ryan Main is going alongside Nicholas Clibbins for second place, though, and then let's just focus on the action in this race that we got coming up now. As we dive down towards Druids, it's going to be Ryan Main on the inside. A little bit of a touch there between himself and Clibbins, and I think that sent Clibbins off. Not quite. He's managed to just about stay on the track, but it has suffered him somewhat, and he's gone backwards down the field. Ashley Simpson still leading the way.
I have no idea what's going on, because I've just seen that Ben Sharp has disconnected. So has Mick Barry, and I think that's usually a sign that it's not this server. It's going to be moving to a different one. So we're going to keep following the action. I think I might go quickly and try and search through all of the group chats and figure out what's going on. But for the moment, Jack, I'll leave this in your capable hands.
Yeah, indeed. We'll try and figure out what's going on as and when and bring you all the updates, because it's Steve Hefford, though, going up the inside of Ryan Main, who is still fighting tooth and nail to try and get this victory. Keep an eye on the laps, the amount of laps rather than the lap time now, because obviously that is the way we sort of work it. The first race dictates the amount of laps that we're going to have. Steve Hefford, though, in second place. Ryan Main up the inside of Andrew Jebson. Carl Jackalette is there as well. And a couple more drivers spinning out on track. That's Nicholas Clibbins, who's had a spin coming out the Island Hairpin. Steve Hansford and a couple of other drivers as well pulling onto the left-hand side. So I'm not sure if we are finishing this or not. There's a whole host of drivers that basically are just disconnected. The top 16 are still racing, though, as we are following Nick Clibbins, although he seems to be slowing up as well. Ashley Simpson and Steve Hefford going into the lead of the race. Is Steve Hefford into Druids now. And Simpson, who has held that lead for quite a long time, has actually just about dropped out of the lead. He's going to try and go over the inside into the last corner, though. How successful will this be? It doesn't look like he was able to be close enough at all. The momentum wasn't quite there this time round. Down the dip now and over the start-finish line, it is going to be Steve Hefford leading the way for now, that is, of course. Obviously, that could all change yet again. Andrew Jebson, Ryan Main, Pete Van Gool are basically 14th and down. There's only 13 drivers running still. And have you figured anything out there, Ed?
We're going to be going to a quick intermission, I think. We're going to be trying to get all of the drivers aware that this is not the race and that we're going to be going to another server, because they only had 5 minutes of join time, so not everyone was able to join on time. So I think even though Andrew Jebson is leading the race, he won't be for long because he's going into a new session. Although as well, I think it will be the reverse grid we just saw earlier, because they had to pull it out because they weren't aware that we were streaming. So we're going to be having whatever reverse grid Mick Barry pulled out in time. as we see Andrew Jebson, he's got the message. All the other drivers, I think, should be able to see. And I think, yep, we're going to go to a short break here and get everyone back in time for the second race properly.
Yeah, we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Hopefully, it will only be a couple of minutes though, and then we'll be back for more MX5 action. Hopefully, more like the first race than the half-second race that we just had. Back in a sec. Don't go anywhere. Hello everyone and welcome back to what has been a bit of a fragmented start to the second race, we have to be honest, but you know, we're back, we're ready to go. We've got a couple of minutes until we're going into the second race for real this time. We've got a reverse grid that I think Mick Barry has conjured up, which is brilliant because I think there was a bit of confusion about where we were streaming this to, thanks to the fact that we're not on Year 1 TV tonight. We will be back on Year 1 TV next time round, and with any luck maybe I'll get the logins as well, which means we can stream to there as well. But I'm back with Ed May, of course, and let's ignore the little half race that we had, Ed, and focus on the first one, because that was absolutely fantastic, wasn't it? No holds barred, brilliant overtaking, imaginative and committed driving from especially this man Dan Hunt.
Yeah, Dan Hunt, he started off going side by side, was it, going through Nürburgring, and from then on out, he kept the pressure on Pete Newman all the way until the end of the race. He didn't give up, did he? He wanted to keep it side by side, had enough commitment in him, but also enough trust in the driver he was racing with to give him that racing room, to not force him off the track, to not cause an incident. And the pair of them, they are two of the standout drivers in this BSR Winter Pro Series, and it's great to see them both being able to go flat out wheel to wheel, nice and cleanly but respectful, and yet so intense racing. It's all of those words that you want to have between two drivers when they're battling on track, and it was what we were treated to. It is got to be said, as we're seeing now in practice as Pete Newman pulls off, that Jamie Ayres is the driver setting the pace at the moment. Dan Hunt's decided that he wants to do the Nürburgring chicane. So fair enough, more power to him. If he wants to do that every lap, he's more than entitled to. Maybe some of the competition might be hoping that he does, because after winning the first race in such a great fashion, he's going to be hungry for more, I'm certain.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing that I think Dave Chapman would have done, wouldn't he? He did a Joker lap with the... maybe that's what they should introduce at the final race of this evening. Just stick a Joker lap in there where you have to take the Nürburgring chicane. But yeah, a great drive from those two. And obviously Dan Hunt took the checkered flag with just under 0.03 of a second between the two of them. It was a photo finish, almost brilliant to see. Also, big up to Martin Sampson, who's given a subscribe on the YouTube channel. And also, there's a whole host of things people have been interacting with the stream that I just haven't given a shout out to. It's been a bit stressful. Katie Eames, thank you for the like and the share. As per usual, brilliant to have you along. Hope you're enjoying the racing yet again. Michael Seal with the like. Catherine Lindberg with the like. Pete Van Gool has given it a share. Thanks, Pete, for finding us. Ben Sharp with the like. Thank you very much. Mick Barry as well for the follow. So, and Charles Kellyman as well for the likes. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm sorry it's not normal like it is on Year 1 TV, but with any luck, it's still the entertaining racing that you come to expect, and that you guys are providing it, to be honest. We have had the checker flag drop in practice, so we'll be able to give Ed the green light to give the rundown of the order. Well, rundown of the grid, Ed.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be much more chill, much more calm. Serenity now. Serenity now. Here we go. We're going to be getting
if I can get it up.
the grid up on our screens now, and it is Simon Robson leading the field from Mick Barry alongside him on the front row of the grid. Ashley Stimpson is the highest placed pro driver, with Andrew Jebson alongside him in fourth, with Steve Hansford, Kip Stevens, Nicholas Clibbins, Ryan Main, Jamie Gulliford and Charles Kellyman in 10th. Jose Rizzo is 11th, and 12th sees Adrian Hendy 13th down. Then we can go, and it will be Steve Hefford ahead of Mike Wortman, Jez Banks, Carl Jackalette, Edward Prager, Jamie Ayres, Pete Van Gool, Ben Sharp, Pete Newman, Dan Hunt, Chris Slater, Alexander Roggenberg, Ralph Cullinan, Roy Vivarke, Shane Piggott, Alan Toon, and James Birch. So that should be the grid full up on our screens, and we're seeing many more cars than we did for the half race we had earlier. Now off and away. We can see Simon Robson get a much better start than he did in the sort of the practice run, shall we say, for the second race of the evening. Getting ahead of Mick Barry, Ashley Stimpson saying in third place. Oh, a bit of a slide. Oh, Mick Barry, he's managed to keep himself out of trouble, keeping his car well out of the way of any contact there. Just definitely, though, put the willies up. Andrew Jebson behind us. We see contact, and there's that Cesare Rizzo getting catapulted off the circuit. I think it was just going down through Cascades. He exited stage right, and I want to figure out what exactly happened to Cesare at some point, as we come now to see side by side Charles Kellyman looking down the inside there of Steve Hefford. Is he going to try and get the move done? Steve Hefford is forced out wide by one of the Fury SimSport cars. I believe that's Jamie Gulliford going wheel to wheel with Charles Kellyman. Further back, James Birch. All these drivers coming to a crawl, so there must have been some incident coming out of that hairpin there. As we see, Ashley Simpson, the race leader, he's off the track. He's going wide, and that's going to allow That's Robson just to carve his way through. So Simpson did get into the lead and now has dropped all the way back again. This has put Clibbins into contention, the number 13 car in second place, doing a good job. So as well, though, is Andrew Jepson, as we see. Oh, the number 33, that is Ben Sharp. That's Adrian Hendy, sorry. He's having a bit of a wiggle coming out of Druids. They're all trying to fight for track position. And at this Oulton Park circuit, it's not the widest of tracks. It makes it look much more exciting and much more tense, I think, in the cars than it might be. As you see now, Jamie Gulliford, he's going down the inside now of the number 67. That's Charles Kellyman. Just behind him, though, Jamie is, and Charles Kellyman managed to hold it around the outside. Great driving there from the Optical Sim Racing driver. Further back, let's have a look what's going on here. Pete Newman is going now around the outside through Cascades. Jamie Ayres is holding on and trying to get ahead of Jamie Gulliford. Kip Stevens is in the mix, as well as Edward Prager and Ben Sharp in this gaggle. Further in front, though, Clibbins. Oh, he's seemingly been phased through there as one of the... who was that? That was one of the RAF cars. That was Andrew Jepson, seemingly disobeying the laws of physics and phasing through the number 13 of Nicholas Clibbins at the chicane. Did a bit of a Rosberg and just went straight on and then decided to turn when it best suited him. It did Andrew. That's helped him out, though, because that's put him up into second and allowed him to put some pressure on the man in front. We're seeing what's going on with Ben Sharp here. He's going side by side with Jamie Ayres. Is there a bit of contact? No, he's going to try and sweep around the outside and then, just spins around, loops it. Does he get collected? Just a slight nudge on the front, but aside from that, just a little bit of superficial damage.
Yeah, that was actually the incident that happened on lap number 1, and there's been an awful lot. Here's a Nicholas Clibbins' replay. Going down into the island hairpin, as we see a couple of drivers off in the background, and looks like, just in the backside, the 69 car there goes straight into the backside of Clibbins. Not entirely sure what happened. Cesare Rizzo as well, again going down into island hairpin. What's happened to him? Because it doesn't look like there's anybody really around him. That's the 777 car, Jez Banks, and how did Rizzo? He just gets on the power too early and manages to just about avoid everybody else. And I think that's pretty much up to date. There's been an awful lot more in terms of incidents flying around and about, but I can't give the replay to all of them. We'll be here all day until the 4th race.
I blame 100% of this on Jez Banks. He was saying how good it was that there wasn't any big crashes, there wasn't any pile-ups there in the opening few laps of the first race, and now look what has happened. We've got a reverse grid, and carnage has descended on Oulton Park, as it often tends to do whenever the BSR MX5s come to town. Andrew Jepson, though, the number 69, having a nice charge on the 17. This is Robson. He's going to have to defend from Jepson. Coming up over the crest of Clay Hill now. Look at how close they get, and now up through Druids. We've seen numerous drivers get good runs out of here and start to send in some moves down through Lodge and Deer Leap. Nothing going on, though, between Jepson and Robson, as we see Pete Newman. Who is that off the circuit? It's Ashley Stimson. What has happened there? He's just maybe got all out of shape going through Druids. Had to take evasive action and rejoins the track nice and safely. We can see already he's lost the car off onto the dirt. Rejoins nice and clean. We've got to see what happens. Is there contact, or does she just... I think he just runs a little bit too wide. He tries to carry the speed, but on the outside line, you're not able to do as much as you think you can do. You can't take the same speed as you would like to with a car on your inside. And he found that out the hard way, as we see Steve Hefford. He's already up into second place. If he can get ahead, which he does, down through Cascades. Brilliant from Steve Hefford. Made it look absolutely effortless getting past Robson. And now he's going to try and build the gap, because Newman's in 5th place. If he can clear these guys, he will be able to put the charge on and put the pressure on the Momo driver. As a rare mistake from Steve Hefford. Not quite slowing down enough, maybe out-braking himself into the hairpin. Gets good drive, though, takes the wider line, gets on the throttle early enough to keep his car ahead of Robson going into the Knickerbrook corner. Pete Newman trying to size up a move on Ryan Main. Gets a good run on, a little bit of contact on the rear bumper. That's opened the door perfectly for Steve Hansford, the police car, taking a taking that move with glee, as you can see. Taking that down the inside of Druids. Who's that on his inside? Is that the number 33 going down on Pete Newman? I think that was Adrian Hendy, and Newman's still dropping back because Kip Stevens, the pretty in pink My Little Pony car, down the inside now. They're going 3 wide into... Oh no! calamity drama. Who is that off? That's Dan Hunt and Pete Newman, two massive contenders in this race. Both drivers that were sort of separated by just a whisker at the last race, both getting caught out and both getting collected at the final corner.
Yeah, it was indeed absolutely huge, but 3 into 1 really doesn't work for this side. A little bit further back, 3 into 1 really doesn't work here. Kip Stevens all the way up the inside. Hendy had nowhere to go. I don't know if Newman really had any idea that Hendy was that far up that far up the inside. But if you look here, Newman's already turning into the corner. He's probably not expecting Stevens to be there. He's probably expecting Hendy to be going for the apex. Newman probably already expects Hendy to be turning and looking for the apex himself. And unfortunately, Hendy had nowhere to go. Really can't put any blame on him. But Newman is pretty much out of this race. You can see he loses a tyre. It will reappear in about 3 seconds. And Dan Hunt as well. Another one there is Pete Newman's car being refixed. And Carl Jacquelette's had a bit of a crash.
What has happened here to the Year 1 TV driver? I can't quite see.
He's going into Island's hairpin. And he looks... Oh, he's just almost... looked like he was going to go into the back of the car in front. I think that's Charles Kellyman. And then he just ends up having to hit the brakes a little bit harder, squirreling the back end and go straight on. He's managed to collect it up now, though.
Nicely collected from Carl Jacquelette. As we see a replay here of Kip Stevens. Is he just going to run a bit wide? Yes, he does. And is that going to open the door for the police car? No, it doesn't.
I thought it was, to be fair. But that's why I went to it.
Seemingly managed just to get away with that scot-free. As Steve Hansford is now going side by side with, a bit of door banging between himself and Adrian Hendy now. And oh my word, what's happened to Steve Hansford? He's had a collision with Pete Van Gool, I think, and he's already off the circuit. What on earth happened to Pete Van Gool? That was a very violent shoot across the track from the Momo driver, and it's not been going the Momo driver's way at all. The only driver that's really having the luck of things is Jamie Ayres, I think. Oh, not Jamie Ayres, Steve Hefford. What was going on there? He just seems to get hooked up with the police car as Pete Van Gool. That's very weird to see, isn't it? You don't often see an incident like that, especially going down through Cascades.
Yeah, I think Hansford just got hung out, sort of thing. He had a bad run. He got overtaken by a whole host of drivers, and unfortunately, he was sort of the cork in the bottle, and ended up Pete Van Gool was the unlucky one to take the final sip, and that meant that he just, ended up straight into the wall. Really not ideal for Pete Van Gool, who's having to trail behind. But the Momo cars are really up ahead here. Steve Hefford leading an awfully long way. He's made 12 positions so far. Hello, shout out to Shane Piggott, who's up 21 positions and is actually overtaking Edward Rapraga through the final corner. Rapraga on the outside trying to carry as much momentum as he can. They're all following Adrian Hendy of the 33 cars. Kip Stevens is trying to overtake Ryan Main as well for second place. But on the inside, look, Shane Piggott again. Rapraga has the momentum and actually has that position made as well. Let's have a look at Kip Stevens.
Oh, they're going side by side, down through Cascade.
Ryan Main.
Ryan Main. I thought, like you did, I thought it was going to collide with the My Little Pony MX5, but he's managed to keep himself looking pretty and clean. It's magic, really, that he was able to survive that moment. But Kip Stevens is going to be thanking his lucky stars that there wasn't contact between the pair of them, and now he's going to try and build that gap, clear the space, and see. I don't know if he's going to be able to catch up to Steve Hefford in time. I think he's going to have to just worry about consolidating second place, as Adrian Hendy and Ryan Main will be going wheel to wheel. The 2 Year 1 stablemates have got Ed Rapraga filling their rearview mirrors, but coming out of Nürburgring, Ed Rapraga has to go defensively immediately. He's going to take the inside line for Druids, but he's going to be on the outside for here. Is he already going to be passed? He seems to be, yes, he's already been passed even before they got to Druids. Just seemingly got the poor run out of Nürburgring, and now needs to try and find his way going into Lodge Corner. Is there any way past Red Rapraga? No, there isn't. He has to wait and try and get the good run out of the corners instead of the good run into the corners. That's really the way you make the overtakes around this circuit, is trying to set them up several corners in advance, just because of how difficult it is to overtake at this Oulton Park circuit. Round the outside, though, didn't look too difficult, did it, for Adrian Hendy, sweeping his car through on Ryan Main, who got such a poor run out of the first corner that he's going to be passed by not one, not two, but possibly three cars as they go down through Cascades. could even be 4 as they come up to the chicane here.
Yeah, he's going to drop all the way down to 7th place. I think Roy Vivarque is flying around the outside, and actually no, Roy has to just back out of that one. Dan Hunt, after that earlier incident, is all the way up to 8th position again, and due to the fact that he started all the way back to where from where he was, he actually gained about 15 to 17 positions earlier on to get all the way up to that sort of top 5 shootout. He's fallen down the order, and he's fought his way back up to 8th place. He's gained another 14 places. So Dan Hunt, he's not lying down here. Pete Newman's up 7 positions, back up to 14. But it has to be said, yet again, Shane Piggott up 23 positions now, and you can't really sort of take that away from him. Absolutely flying. I'm going to keep an eye out on Dan Hunt though and Roy Vivarque, because it looks like Dan Hunt's going to have the run on him into the final corner here. It's one of the few overtaking opportunities where you can just dive up the inside of someone under braking around Oulton Park, and it looks like he's going to do exactly that. Will he hang the Vivarque out to dry? No, he doesn't. He gives him plenty of room, but he gets brilliant momentum and good drive out the corner there without squibbling the rear end. Always important to do as they come back up Deer Leap. Down into the first corner, Dan Hunt has that done and dusted, and that is number 15 for Dan Hunt, from where he started, as I said, and he had an incident halfway through the race.
Yeah, exactly. I'm having a look though at this battle for 3rd position. It's looking very tasty between Hendy and Piggott here. They're going to be going side by side now into the hairpin. Who's going to be able to break latest? Who's going to have the confidence? Oh, there's contact between Edward Prager, and that is Shane Piggott, who's going around the outside. He's lost the place to Adrian Hendy, but not lost the place to Edward Prager. I think maybe the 40-40 driver got caught out a little bit under the brakes, but thankfully it wasn't a massive incident, just a bit of a nudge. Going to see what has happened here. Adrian Hendy, we're going to see exactly how it happened actually, because you can see Adrian Hendy had a good run out of the corner, but an even better run for Shane Piggott in 27th place. Looks down to the inside for Cascades. Takes a slightly earlier apex, and in fact that actually causes a bit of worry for the number 33 of Adrian Hendy. He doesn't take the late apex. He leaves wide, leaves much more space than he needed to. Although that seemingly worked out for him, because again, just a little bit of contact between Edward Prager and Shane Piggott. I think Ed realised that that was his mistake, and he got really onto the anchors, didn't he? He didn't want to press the issue, didn't want to try and do the push to pass, and instead conceded to Shane Piggott. And actually, I don't think Shane lost the position, because he was still behind Hendy when they came into the corner. So I don't think that one will be looked at for the stewards. It seemed to have resolved itself.
Yeah, it's the only sort of damage done there is the fact that Shane Piggott probably thought he had a run on Adrian Hendy, but the likelihood is, I would say, that Hendy would have defended that into the Island hairpin. It would have taken an awful lot for Shane to carry the momentum around the outside, as you say, and it's good. It's exactly what you want to see from the for newbies coming into the series from Edward Prager. There, the sort of good sportsmanship. You know, you have to make sure that you're a team player, you're a game player. You know, if you make a mistake, you got to own up to it, and the fact that he's done that will really sit well with the rest of the field, which is nice to see. As per usual, a couple of drivers having a look as well. Pete Newman's gone off on track, but he's in 11th place. So he's actually made his way up the order a little bit. Let's have a look at further down the field. This is with Nicholas Clibbins and James Birch and Ashley Stimpson. This is for the fight for pretty much trying to crack the top 13. But this is actually between the two drivers here. The number 9 of Stimpson and the number 13 of Clibbins. I believe there's an AM and Pro split in this team, but I could be wrong. Do let me know in the chat if we need to sort that one out. It wasn't registered on the database that I had. So do let me know if I need to just sort of change those at all, basically.
I think... sorry, I was just going to say, I think Stimpson and Clibbins are both AM drivers, and I think they both drive for Simtech Racing as well. So they're teammates, and they're both fighting for AM positions. And Nicholas Clibbins is actually one of the drivers that's quite close in the fight for AM. I've had a look at some of the standings that are being updated all the time, and it is, I think...
Sorry about that, Ed. We're going to have to cut across to you, because Adrian Hendy and Kip Stevens and Shane Piggott were going side by side. It was actually Shane Piggott who took 3rd place, and Dan Hunt's joined in on the mix as well, but it's Adrian Hendy who's got back past, and it's as they were pretty much. But all of a sudden, everything started to swap and change order, and this is the final lap of the race, so this could all come down to this. Dan Hunt trying to carry the momentum around the outside. Hendy going early on the brakes. And that's Shane Piggott trying to carry momentum. The 40-40 car of Edward Rapraga also trying to go side by side. I think Hendy might just about have covered this off, but it's side by side for 4th place now. Dan Hunt doesn't know where to go. It's such a narrow, tricky circuit here. Trying to pick out a mistake is really difficult. The wrong placement of a car can really cause an awful lot of damage. Rapraga just has to give up the position to Shane Piggott. And as I said, it's as they were, and it's going to be Steve Hefford as well. We're going to have to keep an eye on because we haven't really looked at him too much as he goes into Druids.
Yeah, Steve Hefford has had a very anonymous race, hasn't he? Managed to get ahead early on when it counted, let all the drama happen around him. I think as he passed into the lead of the race, that very same lap, there was a tangle between Pete Newman and Dan Hunt. And since then, Steve Hefford has looked absolutely impervious, hasn't he? He's been on the very top of his game, and he's going to take another race victory for Team Momo this season, ahead of Kip Stevens, bagging himself a well-deserved podium. But there's going to be side by side at the line and another drag race, and I think it will be Adrian Hendy winning out ahead of the AM driver of Shane Piggott. Great drive from Shane, it has to be said, and it's great to see him fighting up at the front, just narrowly missing out though on that podium place as we see the drivers now running up to the line. Seeing the final few drivers come through, and I think, Jack, we might want to see if we can get a reverse grid, whatever we have.
Yeah, indeed. This is a bit of an experiment, but I have tried to bring up a random number generator that you may be able to see at the bottom of your screen now. With any luck, this will work, and you can actually see that I'm not faking this. I'm not making this up or anything, but we're going to change this. We're going to do the minimum of the top 10 reverse grid to the maximum of 30 at the moment. Of, oh, not 130, that would be awkward. But 30 at the moment, obviously, it dictates, that's basically a full reverse grid. Obviously, it depends a little bit on who's where, but we're going to generate that now. And it's number 29. So we said about a full reverse grid last time out, didn't we? And I'm not lying, everybody can see it on the stream. We're going to be doing a 29 reverse grid. So there you go, whoever organises the reverse grid, I think it's Mick Barry. We're doing a 29 reverse grid, so basically that's a full reverse grid unless there's a few drivers that haven't been lapped more than once.
Yeah, exactly, and that's going to be brilliant because I think we did have 29 drivers in this race, so that's going to throw the cat amongst the pigeons as we see Steve Hefford. He took the race victory in commanding fashion ahead of Kip Stevens. Adrian Hendy fought brilliantly to keep that 3rd position from Shane Piggott, top AM driver, and Ed Rapraga, a good top 5 finish for him. Dan Hunt, race winner last time out, backing himself a very impressive 6th place. Jamie Gulliford doing well for Fury Supersport ahead of Ryan Main and Steve Hansford, with Pete Newman rounding out the top 10 after, well, the calamitous early phase of the race. Ralph Cullen, Ashley Stimpson, Nicholas Clibbins, James Birch, Jamie Ayres, Cesare Rizzo, Rover Varkey, and Jez Banks finishing in 18th place, with Simon Robson, Mike Wortman, Carl Jacquelet, Charles Kellyman, Chris Slater, Ben Sharp in 24th place, with Mick Barry, Alexander Roggenbuck, Pete Van Gool, Alan Toon, and Andrew Jebson. But because it's 29, we then take all the drivers that are eligible. 28, that is Alan Toon starting on pole for race 3 of the evening. And that is going to be something that is gonna, well, it's going to be brilliant, isn't it? A big reverse grid. We missed it out last time, but this time for sure we'll have Alan Toon on pole position for race 3.
Yeah, brilliant stuff as well. Always nice to see Alan Toon up that end of the field. And obviously, probably looking at that roster at the sort of front end, you have to probably tip your hat towards Pete Van Gool. He had a really poor second race then after a big coming together, really. Oh, it wasn't a poor second race, sorry. It was just a big coming together, unfortunately, with Steve Hansford when he was a lot further up the field. Ben Sharp as well, having a complete nothing race, really, all the way down in 24th. After a spin on the first lap. So Ben Sharp, Pete Van Gool are the drivers probably to be looking out for in the 3rd race of the evening. We're going to be jumping to a quick break, Ed, unless there is a driver interview.
I'm having a look. I'm trying to scour through it. I don't think we have any drivers, so I'd say we go for a short break and we'll be back for coverage of what should hopefully be the 3rd proper race of the evening. We've had a few non-starts, a few ifs, buts and maybes, but I'm certain that's going to be behind us and we'll have the 3rd race up for you very shortly. So don't go anywhere. We're here on, what is it, Jacko Racing?
Damn right it is.
Damn right it is, Jacko Racing. So we'll be back very shortly.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the BSR MX5 Winter Series here on Jacko Racing for once. We're going into the third and, well, not the final race, the third race of the evening, penultimate race of the evening. And we just had an excellent race, won by Steve Heffern, and I believe my co-commentator Ed May has got the race winner in amongst the interviewers. So I'm going to hand over to Ed to have a chat with our race winner from race number 2.
Yes, I'm here with Steve Hefford. Steve, that was a great race from you. It seemed to be effortless once you managed to get in front, but I'm certain that to get there you had to have your wits about you.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad to be honest. I did the same in the previous session as well, but it came to no avail. But yeah, managed to keep myself out of trouble really, and I could see there was a little bit of door rubbing going on behind, so I just got my head down for a few laps, and then once I got a 4-second lead, I just sort of managed the gap then, really.
Yeah, there's been some definite dramatics, weren't there, in that last race? You alluded to it there with the action being more further behind you than it was in front of you, but now you're going to have all the action ahead of you for once, because it's going to be a full reverse grid for you to deal with. What's going to be your expectations going into that?
Well, I'm very strong at this track. I love this track. So there is plenty of places to make moves on people if you can get a good exit. So just look forward and make up as many places as possible, really.
Yeah, that's the main thing to do, I suppose, is just try and look forward and try and keep yourself out of trouble, because how are you even finding this Oulton Park circuit? It's one that's almost notorious for being difficult to pass. Has that been the case for you as well?
It's my local track. I love it. So I'm a bit biased towards this place, but yeah, I think...
No wonder you're so good.
So, yeah, I think there is. There's a few places that you can make time up, especially up the hill as well, if you get a good exit there. So yeah, just keep moving forward if you can.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're going to be seeing if you can keep moving forward. It's a tall order for anyone, but especially at Oulton Park, to come through from, I think you're going to be in 28th place. It'll be tricky.
Well, we'll give it a go.
You're going to give it a go. Full send, of course, all the time, every day, full send. That's
Exactly.
the way to do it, isn't it?
That's the only way.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. We'll let you get back to your Momo teammates and wish you all the best for a nice, clean third and fourth race of the evening.
Yeah, let's hope so. Cheers, guys. Speak to you soon.
So that was Steve Hefford there, and well, he's coming off of the back of a brilliant second race. He managed to take the win by a healthy margin of 3 seconds. It was to Kip Stevens and I believe Adrian Hendy. So are we going to be seeing those three drivers making their way up through the field again, or will it be a little while? Will we be seeing some different faces? I think we have Ben Sharp higher up the order due to, well, a poor result in race 2. He's going to be able to profit off of a large reverse grid for race 3. And Jack, if you're here, I wonder, is that going to be your opinion as well?
Yeah, I think so. They've got to try and rescue what could be a rather nasty night out of just trying to consolidate some good positions in the first couple of laps. Those two drivers will be quick enough. Van Gool and Ben Sharp, they'll be quick enough to get through those drivers that are around them and make sure that they're actually able to finish on the top steps of the podium. Just depends on who will be on the top step. And obviously we've got the checkered flag here on practice now, so we'll be able to bring you the grid.
Yes, we will, and it is Alan Toon on pole position. We thought he might have it in race 2, but he has it for race 3 ahead of Pete Van Gool, Alexander Roggenbuck, Mick Barry, Ben Sharp, Chris Slater, Charles Kelly, and Carl Jackalette, Mike Wortman, and Cy Robson round out the top 10. Jez Banks is 11th with Roy Varkay 12th, and 13 down. We're going to have a look and see who that's going to be. That will be Cesare Rizzo ahead of Jamie Ayres, James Birch, Nicholas Clibbens, Ashley Stimpson, Ralph Cullinan, Pete Newman, Steve Hansford, Brian Main, Jamie Gulliford, Daniel Hunt, Ed Rapraga, Shane Piggott, Adrian Hendy, Kip Stevens, and rounding out the field is Steve Hefford. So, for the third time this evening, as the light begins to dim, the sun begins to fade, we are here for the third race evening. On the right-hand side of the track, left-hand side of the shot, we can see Pete Van Gool getting a great run off of the line, already clear of Alan Toon as they come into the first corner. Alan Toon going wide through turn 1. That allows Mick Barry to get through, but also Ben Sharp. And again, Mick Barry, we saw that happen last time out. He's yet again having another sliding moment. He managed to lock onto the brakes, hold his car steady, keep out of trouble. It was almost a repeat of race 2 here, but now he's been able to hold on, and that allowed Ben Sharp to go through. No questions asked. Further back, there's a little bit of bump and a budge, and Pete Ewan's involved in that massive squabble. You can see all of the cars. There's a bit of a gap, and then there's this massive pack of cars trying to make their way through into the hairpin around the outside. That is Jez Banks losing out to Pete Newman. Pete Newman making it 3 wide with Alan Toon on the left-hand side. On the inside line, the number 13, that is Nicholas Clibbins. I think, though, that you can see Pete Newman managed to get himself clear using the side drive to great effect. Side by side, Jez Banks. Oh, he tries to think about going around Nicholas Clibbins, but then backs out, tries to get the better run out through Knickerbrook up the hill. And who is that? That's one of the Year 1 TV cars stricken at the side of the road. That could potentially be Carl Jacqueline. It is unfortunate again. He just never seems to get the luck his way, does Carl. And yes, again, he's a stricken MX5 up the side of the road. Meanwhile, at the front of the road, at the front of the field, Pete Van Gool leads everyone up to the line for the first time ahead of Ben Sharp and Chris Slater. Following this fight, though, we can see at the back of this pack, Jamie Ayres, the number 1 reigning champion here, trying to find his way through this pack, being led by Mick Barry, who runs very wide through turn 1, opens the door up massively for Charles Kellyman to carve on through. The optical sim racing car taking that nice and easily. Fight, though, between Cesare Rizzo and Mick Barry now. Rizzo is forced off the circuit, off wide, a bit of a squirm, a bit of a wiggle, holds it nice and tight, though, doesn't spit across the track, and now is having to watch the fight, but also get involved in the fight because he's going wheel to wheel with Mike Wortman. About that we saw, I think, quite a lot, if I remember rightly, in the second race at Silverstone. Those two were going absolutely hammer and tongs for second place. And then we're going to be seeing Pete Newman throwing himself in the mix. Pete has already gained 10 positions, but why are we ever surprised? Pete will always try and find a way past, and oftentimes he makes it cleanly.
Yeah, indeed. At the top of the field then as well, we've got Ben Sharp and Pete Van Gool going side by side. Well, not quite side by side, but nose to tail, we could say. And yeah, a bit of a gap between these guys and Chris Slater, who's also got a little bit of a gap to Charles Kellyman in a little bit of the battle. But looks like Ben Sharp's going to go up the inside into the final corner. But Pete Van Gool didn't really fight that one too hard. Maybe he's hoping to get a cutback. Maybe he's hoping to use this slipstream on Ben Sharp. He's going to be looking to the inside now for the first corner coming across the line. It will be Ben Sharp who will lead the way onto the third lap of the race. And by the looks of it, into the first corner, Pete Van Gool won't be able to try and have a little bit of a fight back. Not even a nibble by the looks from Pete Van Gool. So Ben Sharp now, he seems to have got his MX5 up to temperature. It was a great start from him off the line and through the first corner. And he said himself that he messed up race 2 in the chat. He seems to have making amends here, and he's going to have a brilliant little battle with Pete Van Gool, the lead Momo drivers. Edward Lafraga's had a bit of an off by the looks of it. He's in amongst a massive fight with the likes of Kip Stevens, and I think that's Carl Jacqueline, the Stricken 66 car. On the outside is Lafraga. I think he just goes straight on. Yeah, not quite. Oh, he comes back rather hard on the optical racing car, the number 17. Not sure who that is. In fact, it's not number 17. I'm not sure who that was actually in the end, but Lafraga only outbreaking as well, not too bad. And we've had a bit of a crash for Alan Toon here as well. Obviously, I think he was our pole sitter. Not going his way after all, and it's actually Steve Hefford gets into the back of Hefford gets into the back of him. So yeah, race 2 winner taking out the pole sitter for race 3.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for round 2. It's difficult to see exactly what happened. They might have been fighting for the same piece of track and just got crossed over each other. Ben Sharp, though, leads the field now up to the line to start lap 3. Further back, we're seeing good fighting between Mick Barry trying to go down the inside of Cesare Rizzo while also defending from Mike Wortman. This is so close between Mick and Mike. Going side by side now up to the first corner. Like Mick closes off the door, shuts it right in the face of Mike Wortman. Says, no, you're not coming through. This is my position. You're going to have to try a little bit better than that. As Mike Wortman, look at him. He's jumping over the curves. He's trying to find any way around. Takes a later apex. That's someone in the back. And that's Charles Kellyman being spun all the way around. Not sure if there was contact or if he just took a bit too much into the corner and it pitched around with him. We're going to see a replay of what happens here. Jez Banks is behind him. Going to get the outboard shot here. Jez Banks seemingly the rear of his car jumps up. He might have got a bit of a tag from Dan Hunt in all of that, which caused a bit of a chain reaction.
Yeah, if we have a look at Dan Hunt's car here, just trying to find Dan Hunt's car actually, but I think there you can see the reaction of the 777 car as his rear bumper bounces down. I think that's due to the fact that Hunt gave him a little bit too much of a nudge into the back of Charles Kellerman they go, and that is Charles Kellerman's crash. And unfortunately, he was racing really rather well, but he isn't going to be able to carry that momentum forward. Just having a look, Jamie Ayres has gotten all the way through to third place. Chris Slater has dropped down to fourth now, and he's got Pete Newman for company. Probably the last driver he was hoping for in the rear view of his mirrors. While Chris was trying to hang on to a top 5 position. He will, of course, still be in the top 5 if Pete gets past him. But I'm sure he won't be too keen to let the driver go through. This is his opportunity to fight amongst the best. And Chris, I have categorised you as a pro driver. Please do let me know if you are an AM.
I believe, sorry to cut in, I think he is an AM driver. There's been some slight errors with the sheet over the past few days, but I think Chris Slater is an AM driver along with his teammate, the number 69 car. Who is he in the race? Is the number 60? Where is he? Am I just blind? I don't think his teammate has actually made it to the grid, unfortunately, for this race. So we've got one driver, unfortunately not there. I'll try and find out where.
Well, I have just changed Chris Slater, and I believe we've had a crash for Dan Hunt. He was in the fight for a couple of other drivers here. I think that's Mick Barry, and he obviously had a little bit of an incident before, and he's been turned down by the 419 car. And they are possibly in the worst possible position, because that is a blind hairpin these drivers are coming around now. A lot of drivers doing really well to avoid them. A little bit of a collection there again. And I'm not sure, is that Mike Wortman? Yeah, it is Mike Wortman who is involved with that Dan Hunt incident. And as I said, a whole host of drivers getting involved. I think Ashley Stimpson was one of them. And we'll get another view of this as they come down towards the island hairpin now. And as I said, the 675 car, I think that is Mick Barry, doesn't really get involved at all, but then Wortman touches up the inside of Dan Hunt, and everybody else gets involved, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is unfortunate to see those drivers. It's just, like you mentioned, the worst possible point on the circuit to be a stopped car is on the late apex of a blind hairpin. All the drivers are going to be trying to get there. They've already committed to getting to the late apex. They've already got it in their minds. They got it planned, and suddenly their plans have been really rather scuppered now. Pete Newman is going to try and scupper the plans, scupper the dreams of Jamie Ayres. He's right behind him. He's on lap 6 of 11. He's got all of the time he needs to catch up, and he has the pace as well. So this is going to be looking like a tasty fight between Pete Newman and Jamie Ayres. There's also a tasty fight further up because Pete Van Gool is half a second back from Ben Sharp. You can see the pair of them now. They're just coming up through Clay Hill on the run to Druids. Ben Sharp leading Pete Van Gool as we see Jez Banks. He's going to be looking down the inside now. Is he going to try and send it through Knickerbrook? No, he's backing out of it. Trying to get the best run out of Knickerbrook up Clay Hill as the number 14. That is Roy Vivace losing the rear of the car a little bit, stepping out onto the grass, giving the run to Jez Banks. He's going to have the inside now for Druids. He's broke late. Is he going to get it stopped in time? Yes, he does. Parks it right in front of Roy Vivace. There's nothing wrong with that pass whatsoever. Great job through Druids to get the move done and also not give Roy Vivace any chance of a comeback.
Absolutely cracking move that, and Kip Stevens is fancying his chances as well around the outside now against Vivace. He may struggle to not kill the Automatic not kill car. It's going to be, it looks like, it's a reminiscent of my overtaking the Ginetta G55 here around the outside of one corner, round the outside of the first corner as well. And Kip Stevens has the place done and dusted. A little bit of a self-plug there, but I was quite proud of it back in the day. Kip Stevens up the inside now. He's going to be on the outside of Cascade, something I have never done. Jez Banks has covered that off though. Is Kip Stevens going to be able to get the run? I thought Banks was going to run a little bit wide, but he actually collected that up really nicely. And Banks, it's safe to say it, is having a really good couple of races here for the 40-40 team, isn't he? He's really enjoying Oulton Park.
He has, and I think since the start of the season he's been having a good run of things. It's seemingly the new tire model is working well for Jez's driving style, and he's really mixing it up with the top end of the AM drivers. He showed glimmers of it in the winter series. At certain tracks there were races where Jez Banks was class of the AM field, but now he's really starting to come into his own in this winter series, and it's showing because he's able to fight with the likes of Kip Stevens, a well, a great pro driver in his own right. But now they go through Druids. Is there a bump on Kip Stevens' rear bumper between himself and Vavake? It looked like there might have been, but he's seemingly getting through nice and safe. Edward Praga in the baby blue trimmed 4040 MX5 is going to look down to the inside of the Automatic Hill car. Going down through Lodge Corner, he's having the inside line, getting on the power, nice and early, sweeps around the outside, up through Dearly. Well, I was going to say he sweeps around the outside, he's actually still going wheel to wheel with Ryan Vavake, but now the inside line will be his for the first corner, and I think Steve Hefford is going to follow him through on Ryan Vavake. Yes, he is. So, race winner in race 2, almost up into the top 10 places on the 8th lap of this third race. Great drive from the Momo man.
Yeah, I've been struggling to find an opportunity to go to this battle because those guys for the top 10 have been so entertaining, but this is the fight for third place, and it's Pete Newman versus Jamie Ayres, and it looks like slotting up the inside of the Island hairpin was Pete Newman finally getting the move done on the 2020 Pro Champion, Jamie Ayres. Obviously, Newman took the most amount of wins in the end, but that was only thanks to that he didn't take the championship because he joined so late in the season. Well, it just goes to show that there is a fight to be had between these two amazing drivers. Pete Van Gool and Ben Sharp have having a good old ding-dong between each other as well at the top end, but we'll have a quick look at them in a couple of minutes because obviously it's lap 8 out of 11, and we want to be able to make sure we catch as many opportunities as we can. Jez Banks has just overtaken Kip Stevens, actually, and they're going side by side through Druids. Out of Druids they go, the second apex. It looks like Jez Banks is going to have the inside for the next corner. If he, let's see how kind he is to the My Little Pony driver of Kip Stevens, and it looks like he just slotted up the inside. He didn't even need to hang him out to dry. So that's Jez Banks through on Kip Stevens.
Yeah, Kip Stevens is going to be hoping by the end of the race he's not going to be having his little pony turned into glue, shall we say, between the battle with himself.
Crikey, that's dark.
Jez Banks. As Edward Praga is also joining the fight, maybe the two 40-40 drivers might put a bit of team or just a bit of teamwork as well, as Edward Praga, the pro driver, maybe thinking about his championship fight with Kip Stevens. Ben Sharp, his championship fight is going well. It's keeping ahead of Pete Van Gool. He's in this buffer zone where it's a comfortable margin, but it's a close margin at the front, which is, sorry, it's never really comfortable, is it? But it's comfortable enough that Ben Sharp doesn't need to be constantly looking behind him and can instead focus on what's ahead of him, which is what you always want to be doing in the lead of the race. As Cesare Rizzo has gotten ahead of that's Chris Slater. Don't know if we'll be getting any closer to Jamie Ayres, and instead will be seeking to extend his margin over Chris behind him in the RAF liveried car. Shane Piggott, though, 15th place, fighting with Carl Giacolet, a driver that we saw sort of stricken in the opening lap of the race, has now had a good fight up into 14th place as we start the 10th lap of the race. Only 2 more to go in a third race that has absolutely flown by, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has indeed, yeah, and I think Shane Piggott, we're obviously picking him up, but he's gained 10 positions, so yet again he's done a sterling effort. Obviously he had a little bit of a contact early on. Steve Hefford's gained 17 positions, Kip Stevens gained 19, Pete Newman up 16 positions onto the podium spot, and Ben Sharp at the moment leading the way. He's gained 4 positions off the start line, so really close racing wherever you look here at Oulton Park as we're on the penultimate lap of the race. And Jamie Ayres hasn't let Pete Newman go, to be fair. He's really trying to make sure that he's using that glue from Kip Stevens' car to sort of stick onto the back of him by the looks of it.
Definitely. He's really trying to keep with him as we see a replay here of what's happening to Jamie Gulliford.
Yeah, Gulliford, he just exits Old Hall, and I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. He sort of disappears, reappears, and no more was said about it. I'm not entirely sure why iRacing gave me that as a replay.
Oh, iRacing.
You gotta love it, haven't you?
We love your little quirks. If we don't love you, we'll be hating you, and we can't be having that, can we? As we see, Edward Praga has gotten ahead of Jez Banks. What has happened to the 40-40 racing driver? We're going to see what happens. Is there contact, or is it just Jez Banks? He's already off. Oh, he goes too wide out through Knickerbrook. He's being, I think, forced into it potentially by his teammate going 2 by 2, and it's so hard to make it safe through there when it's tight racing at the front of a pack. Edward Praga needs to try and hang on as we have started the final lap of the race, and it is Ben Sharp leading ahead of Pete Van Gool. The margin has stayed just under half a second ever since Ben got ahead into the lead of the race. It just shows how strong the slipstream is, but also the amount of pressure Ben Sharp has been willing to withstand. Pete Van Gool has not let him have an easy time of it, but it will be Ben Sharp as he comes now, just half a lap to go, and this race could be his.
Yeah, indeed, Pete Van Gool throwing everything at it, and unfortunately going a little bit wide, not really working for him as much as he'd like. Big shout out as well to Chris Slater. I think he started around about 6th position. He actually got into the lead of the race, I believe, very briefly. And then he's managed to keep his top AM position in 6th place at the moment overall. But Kip Stevens just overtaking Mick Barry. Chris is actually 4 seconds ahead of those drivers. So I think that may well be Chris's first ever AM victory. But we'll get back to that in a minute, because it looks like we're going to see Ben Sharp come across the line to take his rather common victory for Ben. He's used to taking the checkered flag, but he takes the 3rd one of the evening tonight. And that is a good haul of points, considering his second race was really not ideal. And Pete Van Gool also, his second race was not ideal either. That meant that he had a good starting position, just like Ben. And they were able to convert it to the top 2 positions on the final race standings. We'll be able to bring you the full rundown as soon as possible, as all these drivers are starting to cross the line. It is worth noting, though, just before we do that, that Chris Slater did end up winning the AM class. So that is a brilliant sort of showing from Chris. And I believe Ed will be able to bring up the RNG yet again this time round. So with any luck, this will work just as well as it did the last time.
It will, yeah. We're picking from 10th place up to 30th place, up for shuffling around. Who will be on pole position, though? That's the big question.
Yeah, how many drivers did we have on that one? Was that 29 drivers that I think we just had on that race?
28 we've just had.
28. I'm doing it on stream so no one could claim that this is rigged or anything. Let's generate the number. 13, a comparatively low reverse grid this time around. Obviously, we had 29 in the last race. So 13 will be the reverse grid, and we'll be able to bring you the full rundown of the full race results and see how that impacts race number 4, the final race of the evening. We've got a little bit late tonight, but hopefully we'll be able to make up for that with some brilliant racing for all involved as well. So 13 reverse grid, and Ed, I believe, will be able to give the rundown now.
Yes, we can, and it was Ben Sharp taking the race victory ahead of Pete Van Gool. Pete Newman in 3rd place, with Jamie Ayres 4th, and Cesare Rizzo rounding out the top 5. Chris Slater with a strong performance there, taking the AM victory for the RAF team, with Kip Stevens in 7th place, really harassing him all the way till the end. It was great to see those pair. Mick Barry, 2nd place in AM, 8th overall, another great drive for the Workwear by Result Clothing Man, with Edward Prager and Steve Hefford in 9th and 10th. Jez Banks rounding out the AM podium there, with Roy Vivarque, Carl Jackalette 13th place. Reverse grid pole position for the Year 1 TV driver. He's not been having the best luck, but finally something has gone Carl's way. He'll be on pole for race 4, with Shane Piggott narrowly missing out in 14th, Ryan Main, Simon Robson, Ralph Cohen and Adrian Hendy in 18th place. 19th down, we will see Nicholas Clibbins ahead of Jamie Golliford, Steve Hansford, James Birch, Charles Kellyman, Ashley Stimpson, Mike Wortman, Alexander Rogenbuch, Alan Toon, and Dan Hunt finishing 5 laps down and ineligible for points. So we're going to have a look now, see if there's any drivers that want to come in for an interview. There's one driver I think that we're all hoping to hear a word from, the man who took the race victory, and actually in the 3rd race evening, that's his 3rd race victory this season as well for Ben Sharp.
Yeah, he isn't quite here yet, but we'll give him a minute or two to pop his nose in and say hello. It is worth noting as well, I mean, Oulton Park it's one of these tracks that is always built up to on the calendar, isn't it, Ed? And it's sometimes it can disappoint with the amount of overtakes that are on offer, and although it's very close racing, qualifying is probably more important than anything else. Today, it's been anything but, hasn't it? It's been brilliant. It's the reason why everybody calls it the mini Nürburgring, and it's produced just as much thrilling racing as its bigger brother, shall we say.
It certainly has, and it's a circuit that I'll admit I didn't really drive much before getting onto iRacing. I'd had a bit of a fun time in a few other sims, but getting onto iRacing has really opened my eyes just to what such a great circuit it really is to drive. And watching it on the touring cars is one thing, but actually getting behind the wheel virtually, nonetheless, even though it's not the real thing, still so good. And we have the man we wanted. He's here in the booth with us now, Ben Sharp. Great job taking your 3rd race victory this season. It seemed easy, but I'm certain that it definitely wasn't.
No, that was never simple. Pete was breathing down my neck the whole race, really pushing me. So I couldn't make a single mistake. Luckily he made one tiny little mistake at the top, and I managed to get through. And then it was basically him sitting behind me, waiting for me to make a mistake, and luckily I managed to get through.
Yeah, definitely. We're just having a look at the start of your race, and it was definitely edgy of seat stuff. You had such a good run. There was a car stopped ahead of you. I'm not sure who
Yes.
that was on the run. It's a bit of a heart
Yeah.
moment for you.
Yeah, I nearly went in the back of him. I saw him bump because he like jumped the start, and then I don't know if he was trying on purpose to get a bad start to try and make up for it. But yeah, I nearly hit him straight away. But
I
yeah,
believe it was Alexander Roggenbuck. Sorry, just a pipe in there.
yeah. No, but it happens.
Yeah,
But it's made up for my mess up in race 2. I realised that I've been running all night with my calibration of my pedals for the GT4 car that I made. So I suddenly quickly tried to flick it back over, and then my throttle went to being like a switch, and I spun out in the second race.
we wondered what happened because we saw you sort of loop it around coming out of the island hairpin, and we thought that was an uncharacteristic Ben Sharp error, and it seems that it was more hardware than.
Yeah, so it just gone to like in the GT4 car I mess around with. I had to change a load of settings because I can't drive it otherwise, and I hadn't changed it back. But then I changed the brake, but I hadn't changed it. Then the throttle went all weird, and it literally. But it's done now, so hopefully just try and get a race for and get some points again.
Don't let Ed hear this bit. It's a horrible Porsche, that GT4 car. I don't blame you for needing the settings.
Yeah, it's not a nice car to drive.
Thank you very much. We'll say goodbye. What's your hopes though in for this 4th race? It's a 13 reverse grid.
Oh, okay. Well, Pete Newman starts ahead of me, Jamie Ayres, so it's going to be very tough with them lot. So if I can get onto the podium, would be amazing. But yeah, it's just trying to keep racking up these points now. I've had a bad night, and Pete's pulled back on me quite a bit, so I need to just try and minimise the damage.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we wish you all the best for a nice, clean, and nice, exciting 4th race of the evening, Ben.
Thank you, guys. Take it easy.
So that was Mick Barry, and I think I can't see any other
It
drivers.
absolutely was not Mick Barry. That was Ben Sharp.
Mick Barry's the one I'm talking to get the grid ready, so that should be getting sorted in the background. Sorry, I'm saying things that I'm reading. I'm not very good at this. I need to get to sleep. It's getting on very late.
Oh no, well, we'll be able to get into the 4th and final race of the evening, and then we can all put Ed to bed. And yeah, we'll be back in a couple of minutes. By all means, don't go anywhere. Maybe we'll have even have another driver to talk to. Back in a couple of seconds. Hello everyone and welcome back, and just before we get into the racing for the fourth and final time tonight, I actually want to give a big shout out to the likes of Carl Hardy, who's given the page a follow, Nick Clibbins, Matt Emmons, who's given it a like. Nick Clibbins actually gave it a follow as well, and Henry Van Gool, I'm guessing part of the Pete Van Gool family, for giving it a follow on the page as well. And I believe there's been a few subscribers as well, so thank you all very much. Actually, Stimpson has subscribed to the channel, so thank you all very much for tuning in. I'm going to bring it back now with Ed May, of course. And Ed, just while I change very quickly, hold there. There we go. Just as we're going back into the fourth and final race of the evening, it was a good commanding victory by Ben, wasn't it? But he was kept honest by Pete Van Gool.
He definitely was, yeah, and that's such a good sign of great racing, is that they were keeping each other honest. They weren't trying any silly moves, they were just working together, trying to consolidate their first and second places, because as we know, this championship really does prioritise finishing well ahead of, well, finishing higher. Does that make sense? You want to finish the races and try and bag consistent points, because that's what wins you the championship. We saw last season that Ben Sharp fell a little bit foul of that, but now he's really started to learn and bring that on board, and I can actually have a look through and find you some stats, because we always
love a good stat.
We love a good pre-fourth race stat, shall we say, and it is Ben Sharp who is leading the championship so far with a margin of 34 points to Pete Newman. Ben Sharp on 1005, Pete Newman on 971. Pete Van Gool, Kip Stevens and Jamie Ayres all relatively close behind. In fact, the top four are separated by only 77 points, and in the AMs it's even closer. Jamie Gulliford has jumped 2 positions this evening ahead of Roy Vavarke and a few other drivers that have actually jumped down the order as well. So Jamie Gulliford is ahead in the AM Championship, only though 2 points separating himself and Roy Vavarke in second. Nicholas Clibbins is doing very well in third, tied with Ryan Main and Charles Kellyman, sitting in 5th place in AMS, only 22 points behind our class leader.
That's mad, really, isn't it? Because 77 points separating the top 4, 2 points separating the AM Championship. You know, it's goes to show how close it really is, because there's about 300 points up for offer, isn't there, per race meeting? If the drivers at the top end are on 900 odd points, we're only in the third race. You know, that stands to reason that there's about 300 to 400 points on offer between each of these rounds. So the fact that the top 4 are separated by 77, I know it's early on, but that really stands everything in pretty good stead for an exciting championship battle. You know, in the 2020 Pro Series, we didn't really have the championship battle go down to the wire exactly, did we? Because Jamie Ayres, although he was being caught by Ben Sharp, who then had to go away for a couple of weeks due to work and everything like that, it wasn't really ever any doubt from that moment onwards for the last 10 weeks or so that Jamie Ayres was going to win the championship. But this one, it sounds like it's going to go potentially all the way down to the wire. You know, touch wood, commentators curse aside.
Exactly, commentators curse aside. And then also more stats, a new stat, a
Ooh.
brand new stat here. Safest driver. Who would you put your money on being the safest driver?
Oh, goodness. Safest driver? Ben Sharp and Pete Newman always try and make an effort.
This is on incidents per race.
Honestly, couldn't pick it, because I think that's they've upped the stewarding this round, but I couldn't call it.
It's Charles Kellyman who's actually the safest driver.
Oh, big up Charles Kellyman.
Big up Charles Kellyman with an average instance of 5.55 a race. Alexander Roggenbrook's up there in second, tied with Ben Sharp.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we are going to have to go to the grid for the fourth and final time, but it's a very interesting stat you've thrown out there. But Ed, take it away.
Well, thank you very much. And it is Carl Jekyllette on pole position for the final race this evening. Alongside him, Roy Vavarke and Jez Banks in third position, with Steve Hefford, Edward Prager, Mick Barry, Kip Stevens, Chris Slater, Jezero Rizzo and Jamie Ayres rounding out the top 10, with Pete Newman in 11th, Pete Van Gool 12th, the two Pete's sharing the same row of the grid, with Ben Sharp, Shane Piggott, Ryan Main, Simon Robson, Ralph Garland, Adrian Hendy, Nicholas Clibbins, Jamie Gulliford, Steve Hansford, James Birch, Charles Kellyman, Ashley Stimpson, then Mike Wortman, Alexander Roggenbrook and Alan Toon rounding out the field here. And as the lights go down, the lights come on, and we are racing here for the final time at Oulton Park. Great getaway from Carl Jekyllette. He will be unchallenged into turn 1. Around the outside though Jez Banks thinks about it, but instead sweeps around. Oh no! drama. He can't catch a break. Carl Jacquelet, man. Oh my word, that is heartbreaking for the Year 1 TV driver. He had such a good chance at a race victory here, but it was snatched cruelly away by the iRacing gods, the gods of oversteer.
Oh, Jamie Ayres has had a big off with Chris Slater. He's collected him as well, and that was a bit of a... He hasn't had an off, actually. He just decided to career off. He got a bit of a tank slapper, and luckily for him, unluckily for Chris Slater, I believe, he ended up sort of balancing himself on another driver. Kip Stevens, though, on the outside. He's got Edward Rapraga on the inside now as well, going down towards Knickerbrook. Pete Newman and Cesare Rizzo just behind. Who's going to come out on top here? Newman. Oh, Rizzo goes a little bit hot. And I think he's had to slow right up. This has given Newman the opportunity to carve his way back through. Newman's up 4 positions now into 7th place.
Yeah, he is. This is really intense, isn't it? These opening few laps are always so dramatic. Steve Hefford doing a great job up into 2nd, trying to put some pressure on Jez Banks. But we saw just last time out how good Jez is at defending. He's going to have to use all of his ability and a little more, because he has already... Steve Hefford up behind him. Race winner in race 2 is hungry for more. Edward Praga going wheel to wheel with Pete Newman now as they come up to the first corner. Edward Praga around the outside. Pete Newman got the inside, already ahead under braking. Edward Praga has to concede the position and actually has to concede to Cesare Rizzo to avoid losing out to the car behind. That's Jamie Ayres in 9th place. Ben Sharp is already up into the top 10 as well, so these drivers that we often see fighting really well are again making their way up through the field. And up in front, Steve Hefford is ahead of Jez Banks, who's having to go to the inside to defend, but also try and put the pressure on. And oh, there's contact with him and Hefford. Jez Banks, oh, Hefford's trying to get the car pointing the right way, and oh my word, what's going on there? We're seeing Jamie Ayres facing the wrong direction. What on earth has happened there?
I'm not entirely sure, but I'll try and figure out a way. There's been an awful lot of crashes. Jamie Gulliford's been involved in it as well, Alan Toon, Ashley Stimpson, Roggenbuck, and the incident is actually going too fast for me to be able to see, but I'll try and find Simon Robson, Steve Hansford. Come back to me.
It's still going on, because Steve Hefford is fighting with the likes of Piggott and Rapraga. So this fight we saw around, it had some dramas, and it's still going on. Ed Rapraga around the outside of Shane Piggott through Druids. He's going to try and carry the speed out now into Lodge Corner. Defensively, you can see the Momo driver of Steve Hefford immediately, and then he tries to take the racing line around the outside. Ed Rapraga has outbroken himself. Shane Piggott's going to carve his way through. Ed Rapraga off onto the grass. Is that going to make him lose out? That certainly might do. I think he's plummeting down. Is that going to allow bench up? Oh, there's one of the cars facing the wrong way. I think that might be Chris Slater in the RAF car. It is, and that's a very poorly looking MX5. The shark mouth drooping a little bit. That's a very unfortunate sight to see.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what happened to Jamie Gulliford, but this is, sorry. Yeah, there we go. That's a big, I was going to say, he was looking all normal, and then that's the Constantina effect, unfortunately. He didn't really have any control over that whatsoever. I'm just trying to find the Jamie Ayres sort of incident, but it doesn't seem to have come up on my highlights, which is really quite gutting, because obviously that would have been very interesting to see. But I just want to have a quick look and see if we can see the Jez Banks Chris Slater crash. Here it is. So Jez Banks in the 4040 car, looks like he's going on the outside of Lodge, loses the rear end. I've done that in real life. Pete Van Gool gives him a tap. Chris Slater's unable to do anything about that, and yeah, that's an unfortunate little incident there, and looks like they're both coming into the pits.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. We hope that they can both get that repaired and get out on track quicker so they can score some good points for their team. Up ahead, though, Pete Newman has gotten past Rover Varkey, and now that he has, I think he's going to try and extend the gap, build himself a healthy margin. He's already on lap 3, going to be starting lap 4 of 11. He's got plenty of time to spend, to chillax with at the front. Rover Varkey needs to worry, though, because he has Cesare Rizzo, who's hungry for more positions, hungry for that second place, with Kip Stevens as well in tow, round the outside, off the circuit. Steve Hefford, he makes the pass stick regardless. Great driving from him. Down the inside, the baby blue trimmed 4040 car. Ed Rapraga getting that move finally done on Shane Piggott, and can now focus on fighting up with Steve Hefford. Ed Rapraga has been having a great evening's racing. He's been consistently there or thereabouts in the top 10. Another driver, though, that's been consistently doing well is, of course, Ben Sharp, now up into 9th place. Got plenty of drivers up ahead of him that he wants to be trying to make moves on, because his nearest rival in the championship, Pete Newman, is on track to win this race.
He is indeed, yeah, and he's actually being hunted by his former teammate now, Adrian Hendy, who he did just overtake around the island hairpin. Edward Praga is the man with the fastest lap of the race so far. I'm sure Pete Newman will be trying to take that away from him as the sun sets even further in iRacing now around Oulton Park. Up the inside goes Steve Hefford on Mick Barry, this is, and Hefford, I'm sure he's been really good. He said it was his local circuit. He's showing his familiar track knowledge here tonight, because he's done some really good overtakes and really good opportunistic moves. Really good, great finishing sort of results as well. Shane Piggott follows him through by the looks of it. Ben Sharp's going to try as well with Ed Rapraga. I think they're going to go 3 wide here, Ed.
They certainly are. This is so intense. To the first corner, side by side, all the way through, managing to get through without too many dramas. Somehow they kept it clean. Great to see. And now Ed Rapraga has got 2 cars trying to get past him, as we see Ben Sharp. He's lost out that position now to the number 33 of Adrian Hendy. He was ahead at the start of the last lap. So now down the inside, is Ben Sharp going to have enough for cars with? No, he isn't. That's cut off rather late by the number 33 car. And actually, Ben Sharp is going to potentially lose out now to, that is Pete Van Gool. He's not having the greatest run as Ben Sharp. He was doing so well, but he's just, once you get past by 1 car, they all start to flood on by. And that's just the nature of this Oulton Park circuit, isn't it? It's difficult to pass, but then once your groove has been disrupted, once the flow has gone from your race or the lap, you've really struggled to get it back.
You do indeed, but here's Ed Rapraga trying to get that momentum going in his favour as he goes around the outside of Mick Barry Van Druitt. Echoes of my dad shouting at me for doing that exact move in real life. It just wasn't able to come off. Luckily, he was more sensible than I was. And up the inside, though, he's going to come into Lodge. That's probably the best way to do it, and by the looks of it, he's going to have that move done and dusted. Yeah, there we go. Mick Barry doesn't try and force his way around the outside, and I think Mick Barry is going to actually lose out to Adrian Hendy now as well, and potentially a couple of other drivers, because as you said, Ed, if you lose your momentum, you lose out to 1 car, you're probably going to lose out to a whole host of others as well. But looks of it, he's going to try and carry the momentum, and to be fair, they've all given him plenty of room, but they're going 2 by 2. Hurrah, hurrah, they chant as they go down towards Cascades. Barry on the inside, Hendy on the outside. He's got Sharp and Van Gool behind him as well. It's a reignition of previous races gone. It's going to go 3 wide down into the island hairpin by the looks of it. Mick Barry still has the way to go, but Adrian Hendy going to try and now break him up the inside. It's going to be brave move. There's going to be contact if he tries it. He doesn't try it, luckily, as Pete Van Gool tries to fly around the outside. The Flying Dutchman not quite able to. Actually, to be fair, he's got his nose ahead there, Ed, and by the looks of it, they have actually moved around a little bit. Pete Van Gool and Ben Sharp are really fighting at it, though.
Yeah, they are. I think it's going to be Van Gool though ahead. Into Nürburgring, slotting in behind is Ben Sharp, having to bide his time. Oh, a bit of a wide moment, sketchy moment for Mick Barry. He rejoins the track without collisions, but now he's going to be backing up the likes of, that's Pete Van Gool and Ben Sharp. They're going to be dying to get past him. Down the inside goes Pete Van Gool. Ben Sharp's going to try and take the opportunistic move as well. Going into Lodge Corner though, he's not able to get it to stick, and now needs to try and figure out how he's on earth he's going to get back. He's going to try around the outside. No, he's not. And it's unfortunate for Ben Sharp, because he knows he's quick, we know he's quick, but he's just not able to make it stick.
No, not at all, and that is the nature of Oulton Park. You know, it brings the best out of people. Sometimes it can bring the worst out of people as well, out of frustration. Kip Stevens, Steve Heffer, Shane Piggott and Edward Rapraga, though. Edward Rapraga going side by side due to the fact that Shane Piggott just missed out on the apex a touch while trying to put Steve Hefford under pressure, and looks like the 40-40 car is going to run wide out of Cascades. It's always a brave move to carry momentum around the outside there. It's such a long sweeping left-hander, and he might actually lose out to Adrian Hendy now, and the number 3 car just behind them, and Pete Van Gool. Low, deep into the corner, it goes to 40-40. Ed Rapraga luckily doesn't spin back into the side of the Year 1 TV car, and it looks like it's going to be a bit of a drag race down to Nürburgring that I think the 40-40 car is just about going to hold on.
Yeah, it's just about as they come out into Nürburgring down the inside. Adrian Hendy's going to have to fend off Pete Van Gool. It's still side by side. I think the nose is on the outside, but now he's going to try and get the cut back. Look at this, though. They're sort of forming almost a bit of a bit of a roadblock is Adrian Hendy. He's really the cork in the bottle for these two cars behind him, both Pete Van Gool and Ben Sharp. They're trying so hard, but it's a testament to how great of a defence Adrian Hendy is putting on now as Kip Stevens slots himself down the inside through Lodge Corner up over Deer Leap, and he's got that move done and dusted. Round the inside now, Pete Van Gool trying to get the move stick, a bit of contact, just hampered his run out of the corner. So that means he's going to have to wait to do it all over again. Oh my word. What is that? That's a weird place to have an incident, and that is Shane Piggott.
Yeah, Shane Piggott. Amazingly, you know that iRacing doesn't class that as a crash. I don't know what else he has to do, but he hasn't classed that. Oh, there, here we go. It's an off track apparently. It's classified as an off track. He certainly was doing that. All four wheels were off the track, and then some. And as you can see, he touches Mr. Palmer's lovely grass, and that spares him into the inside. And I have to say that is a bit of an awkward one. Unfortunately for Shane Piggott, hopefully he's not using VR, otherwise he'll probably be a little bit travel sick right now.
Yeah, he's lucky that he's not in. It's not real for two things. Mainly that he isn't battered and bruised after that, and also because he hasn't got an itemised bill for cutting down Mr. Palmer's lovely grass. I think I remember he gives people itemised bills if they run off of the circuit.
Oh, they do, yeah. It's itemised by the amount of blades that he has to replace. It's ridiculous. No, it's not really, but it is a bit stupid how he does have to do that. Looking on the virtual world, though, it's Kip Stevens in third place, Steve Hefford in fifth, sorry, Cesare Rizzo in fourth, sort of separating them. I have to give a big shout out. We haven't talked about the front of the field that often. We've got 3 laps to go. Roy Vivarque has kept in touching distance with Pete Newman, and without trying to sound condescending or anything, and Am trying to catch the likes of Pete Newman and keep with him throughout the rest of the race, and also gap the likes of Kip Stevens and Cesare Rizzo, is a very, very impressive feat. You don't see that very often, do you? And he is within a second, and for the majority of this race, he's been within a half a second. So, big at Roy Vivarque, absolutely flying race so far, and hopefully, you know, touch wood, that he keeps this to the end. Are you there, Ed? Or are you just blown away by the heroics of Roy Vivarque?
We don't often see, but he's definitely. Oh, am I there?
Yeah, you're there now. You're there now. Hello.
Oh, that was weird. I'm not sure what was going on. I was seeing everything was going fine. It's weird, funky times, isn't it, for us here? We haven't got our lovely driver's assistant to keep us all in check, so we're running a bit wild and free tonight. And Roy Vivarque is certainly going to hope to have a nice free run at this second place. Kip Stevens 2 seconds back. As we see Edward Prague, he's finally getting alongside and trying to pass Steve Hefford now. We've been seeing this fight has been looking to go on for ever so long, and now actually I've seen that Ben Sharp is in the mix. How on earth has he gotten past Van Gool and Adrian Hendy?
I wish I could answer that one. In fact, actually, let's have a look at how he overtook Pete Van Gool at least. I can't find the other one, but going, oh, that's with Shane Piggott in the background. I remember, yeah, we went and had a look at that one, didn't we? But actually, that sort of bypassed the fact that Pete Van Gool had to actually let Ben Sharp pass, and then I think Ben Sharp probably get a good run. We'll wait and see down to Cascade, see if this is where he got Hendy. Either way, he is back up to the back of the likes of Steve Hefford and Edward Prague. Around the outside goes Ben Sharp on Hendy. So it's brave.
So good.
It's brave. In fact, I'll keep with it until Island Hairpin if he outbreaks him there. Otherwise, we're going back live on the replay. Well, live from the replay, I should say. Oh, it's late on the brakes. They're going 3 wide, in fact, on Pete Van Gool as well. Mick Barry actually maybe gets up the inside. That's Ben Sharp taking 7th place.
Amazing driving all around, both from Hendy just to give him the space, but also Ben Sharp trying to work around the outside. Also, Van Gool had a part to play in that. He was putting the pressure on Adrian Hendy a lot, so there was so much great racing on display there. Edward Prague has managed to get ahead now of Steve Hefford. Ben Sharp is also in the mix, and as they go down through Knickerbrook, where on earth is Pete Newman? What gap has he got? I think Newman's going to be going through Druids by this point, so he's got a nice healthy margin to the rest of the field, and sooner or later we'll be starting the final lap of the race. Will Edward Prague be able to hold on? Will he be able to help his 40-40 racing teammate Ben Sharp to gain a couple extra positions by the end of the race? In fact, he might not need any help, does Ben, because immediately coming out of Druids, he gets the run down the inside into Lodge Corner, nice and stopped on the apex, a bit of door banging, rubbing his racing, nothing too untoward about that maneuver. And now down the inside. We're going to be seeing Ben Sharp. He's going to try it. No, he is. He's going to have to wait. Think about getting the best run out through the first corner. Instead, try and focus down through Cascades. He always gets such a good run out of the first corner into Cascades, does Ben Sharp. And again, he looks like he's going to threaten for a pass, but not quite make it just yet. Breaks a bit earlier. I think he's trying for a later apex. Let's have a look at the time. Is it going to be coming down enough? I don't know if Ben Sharp's going to be able to send a move here. He may need to be waiting until Knickerbrook corner is the last real chance for Ben Sharp to stick his nose down the inside with the slipstream. Edward Praga, though, in the meanwhile, has been able to use all this squabbling to great effect, build up a nice, healthy half-a-second margin between himself and Steve Hefford behind him in 6th place. Going up through Knickerbrook now, though, as long as they keep it as it is, Steve Hefford will be holding on to 6th place, and Pete Newman will be holding on to the lead of this race, a lead that, since he took it, has never looked in doubt. He was kept honest for most of it by Roy Vavake, who has had a brilliant race, it has to be said. This has been an amazing night, though, for Pete Newman. He narrowly missed out on the race victory the first time of asking, but now he doesn't have anyone to drag race to the line. This is him, clear as day, taking the race victory for the 4th race tonight, ahead of Roy Vavake, who did lock down 2nd position, ahead of Cesare Rizzo and Kip Stevens. And at the line, it was Edward Praga ahead of Steve Hefford, ahead of Ben Sharp. Another top 10 for Ben will be much appreciated, considering his championship rival has scored some very good points today.
Absolutely, yeah, and there was an overtake worth noting as well by Cesare Rizzo into Druids on the final lap of the race. We've got to show this one because it's a brave late move by Cesare, and to be fair, sometimes we show him maybe having a few more offs and overtakes. You always got to show the good if it comes along, because that was a stunning move. Overtaking Kip Stevens on the final lap of the race, and this is him taking home the final podium position. So fantastic race by Cesare there, and finishing out the night with a well-deserved podium. So Ed, that was all that she wrote basically. It was a good evening's racing, wasn't it, here at Oulton Park? And I'm going to have to jump off fairly quickly. For those who don't know, apologies if anybody's going to jump into the interview waiting room anytime soon, but for those who don't know, I've got a puppy literally today, and my girlfriend's been taking care of it all this time, and I feel like it's my turn to do the night shift. So, Ed, do you want to sum up what it's been like at Oulton Park, and while I try and find out where we're going next?
Yes, it is. In fact, I can sum it up. I think I can remember where we're going next, so I'll do that in addition. And it has been an excellent evening's racing here at Oulton Park. It's been an evening to remember. We said the BSR MX5s will never disappoint no matter what circuit they go to, and as you mentioned, the mini Nürburgring has had that excitement in bucket loads, and it was Pete Newman who took the race victory ahead of Roy Vavake in 2nd place, taking the AM victory and an overall podium. Cesare Rizzo with a last lap pass on Kip Stevens for 3rd place, who finished Kip in 4th. Edward Praga takes 5th ahead of Steve Hefford, Ben Sharp, Adrian Hendy, Pete Van Gool, Mick Barry rounding out the top 10. 2nd place in AMS with Ryan Main rounding out the AM podium. 11th overall with Ralph Cullen, Mike Wortman, Steve Hansford, Ashley Stimpson, Jamie Ayres, Simon Robson, Carl Giacoletta, pole sitter down in 18th. Oh, gutting for Carl. Shane Piggott 19th with James Birch, Jamie Gulliford, Chris Slater, Nicholas Clibbins, Alexander Hodogenbuck, Charles Kellyman, Alan Toon, and Jez Banks finishing 7 laps down and not scoring any points. And I think we'll have, I'm sorry, Jack, but we have to have a quick word with Pete Newman. Great race victory for you. It was so close in the first one. You finally managed to get it to stick in the 4th time.
Yeah, I got rid of the demons of race 1 with that one, so it's nice to take the win and end the night with a win.
Yeah, it definitely was, and you scored some much-needed points as well. Keep the championship fight very much close. It's so great to see you and Ben Sharp going tit for tat. And how have you found this new tire model? Because we've noticed that you were untouchable in the Pro Series, but now the Winter Series has come around, you seem to have a bit of a chink in your armour finally.
Well, yeah, it's I don't know. I think it's just seems to level the playing field a little bit more, which is kind of nice. It's definitely a lot harder to get away from anyone. It was harder before, and sort of even harder now. And little mistakes are obviously punished. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and yeah, it's going to be a good challenge for the rest of the season.
Well, definitely. We can't speak to you long because Jack has a puppy that he's desperately trying to get back to. So thank you very much, Pete.
Sorry,
We'd
Pete.
But is there anyone you want to give a quick shout out to tonight? It's been a great evening for you, of course.
Yeah, just yourselves, guys. Thank you very much for doing it, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Pete. We'll wish you all the best for 2021 and see if you get some even more race victories under your belt.
No worries. Cheers, boys.
So that was Pete Newman, race victor in race 4. And as we leave Oulton Park, we can look forward to the next round, and it will be my home circuit, my favourite track in Norfolk, the only track in Norfolk, but my favourite track in Norfolk, Snetterton. The 300 layout will play host to the BSR MX5 Winter Series, and that is something you definitely don't want to miss. I'll be there for, and I'll be really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's not only the only track in Norfolk, it's the only thing of note in Norfolk. So we're very much looking forward to it. And as we leave my home track, we go to Ed. So it's very fitting, I'm sure. We just need Croft, and then we can go to Graham's home circuit. That'd be good fun. Right, yeah, thank you very much for watching. I know it's been a bit odd. Obviously, Graham hopefully will be here next week, and we'll be back on Year One TV and everything. But thank you very much for everybody who's been really patient. And to the BSR series, guys, it's been really good fun. We'll see you later. And if you want to see any pictures of puppies and puppy spam on your timeline, then by all means, give the page a follow. And also, there might be some racing in there somewhere. Who knows?